That's right.
Here we go. We are live.
We are definitely missing a Webby.
Yes, we are missing a Webby for the time being because he is sorting out bedtimes, but we seem to have everybody else. So, we'll start that much. Can I confirm that everybody is successfully logged into Foundry?
Possibly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a good old go and make sure the connection's good. Confirm that your character sheet can cut out. Claude is in Foundry. Good to know, Lieutenant Claude.
Plot files.
The Claude files, well, quite. It's like the episode Data's Day, but, you know, it's instead of from Data's perspective, it's everything's from Claude's perspective, and everything is so much more exaggerated. Everybody's small and incompetent, and Claude is the only one who can save the ship. Anyway, tangent. As everybody who wants to have the link got Sirenscape, and is it playing for people?
It is. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, actually no, I'll save that for after the intro theme plays, in which point I'm going to stop the plinky plunky and I am going to throw us into the intro sequence. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and for doing so, here's the intro. And hello everybody, welcome to the further misadventures of the USS Navis. Hello everybody, and wow, right on cue, here comes our wayward first officer.
Nah.
Someone else. I love that everyone goes quiet for the intro because it's a sacred anthem. Well, exactly. Incidentally, on the subject of the intro sequence, I only recently discovered that Kevin MacLeod, who very nicely gave us permission to use the Fanfare for Space, is actually also a leading contributor to a lot of the music that is used on Sirenscape. And I believe, if I consult a playlist. Not this one.
That keeps on giving.
Yeah, he's actually done a number of bits of music that are actually used by Sirenscape Online Player and what we use, so who knows? We've more than likely used a couple of other of Kevin's pieces of music, so thank you, Kevin. That's awesome.
Sweet. You find out he actually listens to the stream as well.
Well, wouldn't that be something? Kevin, you rock. Thank you.
How dare these players sully my good music with their incompetence? You wouldn't get me singing my songs in the Mycellial Realm.
Yes, indeed, Schrodinger's Steve. Yay, Kevin. Definitely yay, Kevin. It's a good piece of music, and some other really good pieces of music that I've heard him contribute. So,
I'd still like to point out I am on the bridge. I am here.
but you're a ghost. You're there in spirit.
We can still hear his voice.
Still hear Andrew's tutting away
It's almost
disapprovingly.
like she was here. Finishes
Yes. Indeed. So, as a quick summary of where we've been during the last couple of weeks, yes, during the
In
end
our
of
bedrooms doing this.
during the end of episode 18, part 2, we unfortunately lost Andrews to the Mycellial Realm, but a rescue
what a
operation is now
pity,
being
never
planned.
mind.
All right, Mr. Changeling.
So, last week was spent. The crew of the Navis, under direction of Captain Ducasse, have started modifying the ship in order to try and put together their own rough and ready and rude version of the Displacement-Activated Spore Hub Drive. They have put together a number of devices on the ship designed to try and achieve that. And so today should be the time that we kick all these various systems into action and see how well they manage to put together the Spore Hub Drive. So, just as a bit of a... what's the word I'm looking for? I always forget words whenever I do this. Usually, I've got a bigger vocabulary than this, but...
Claude's pinched the dictionary.
Well, Claude is using it for his own gain, and
You're
I
just-
can't...
You're
I
just
can't
method
do that.
acting for the role.
Claude doesn't method act. Claude is Claude.
No, but GM has to method act to get into Claude's head.
No, because Claude is Claude. I am
Is
Claude.
Sam
you are
playing?
Claude. We are Claude.
Claude
Sam is
Collective.
not playing, I'm afraid, no. Sam is not part of this particular player group, my lovely wife, but wouldn't that be something? Who knows? We might actually get somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, heck.
I resemble that statement.
Actually, might even give me pointers.
I
Anywho,
assemble that remark.
certain members of the cast and crew may feel a little bit called out there, including me. Sounds harsh but fair. Well, yes, indeed. Any hoops. Yes, we had a number of systems that were installed on the Navis. And Webby was kind of taking command of, I say taking command, was rolling for Natala as some of her expertise was needed, but we've got John back now, so John can be Natala. So Webby, as Andrews, can just wait in the Mycellial Realm and just be comfortable in this paradise realm where everything is in sync and in harmony.
Where we can just be playing Jenny Eric.
Well,
I play all the Jenny Erics.
all the support.
That's your
crew.
personality.
Ooh, steady.
Right, yeah. Just wait till Andrews is back, Mr. Edwards. What's that? Demoted? Oh, what a pity. Kick him off the ship.
Guess who's on latrine cleaning duty for the foreseeable future?
He's getting a
Yikes.
terrible review from us. So.
Did we just get
Actually, I didn't say that in character.
Well, yeah.
Did we just get a secret insight into what pre-amnesia Andrews actually is?
Interesting. Anywho, let's see. Let's remind ourselves of the various systems that have been installed on the Navis. First things first, you needed a reaction cube, which is the specific part of the ship where the mycelial spores are injected into this chamber in order to create like a bridge between the Mycellial Realm and the ship itself. That was created using a combination of the chief engineer Vibers' engineering expertise and science officer Natala's quantum mechanics expertise, because the reaction cube needed to be slightly altered with phase discriminators in order to alter its its phase shift just enough so that it can exist in both the Mycellial Realm and the material universe as we understand it that the crew exist in. There also needed to be mycelial spores cultivated in enough quantities that they could be injected into the reaction cube in order to saturate it with enough mycelial energy that the connection to the realm could also be established. The shields were modified so that they could create a spinning subspace field, so that the quantum resonance of the ship could match that of the Mycellial Realm, and it also creates a kind of a helical spin for the ship so that it enters into the mycelial network via one of the spore-emitting chimney, for lack of a better word, which are kind of helical in nature. But because creating that spinning subspace field causes a lot of excess energy and spin energy, the crew created a... what was it again? It was I've forgotten the term you guys used.
The world's biggest flywheel.
Flywheel, thank you. I forgot the term for a moment there. Which rather
It's
than...
well made.
Yep.
No, we've got no problems with it at all. I hope.
They created a thing. Well, indeed. They've created lots of things, as it turns out. So this was the key difference between what was done with the USS Discovery and the USS Glenn, in that those two ships created spinning sections on the saucer section of their ships to create like a counter-rotational effect that also bled out the excess energy into space, so that the spin energy wouldn't get filtered through the hull of the ship and everyone in it. So these guys have actually hit upon using a flywheel to actually store the energy that's created, so they can use it on the way out to create the spin on the way out, which was a very clever idea. So they've done that using a combination of traditional flywheel engineering, but also utilizing dark matter, which I thought was very clever and very brave.
Someone got to use their dissertation.
Indeed, yes. What else? Oh, yes. Navigating through the mycelial network requires probability calculations that are extraordinarily complex, because navigating through the network is based on probability, not relativity. Therefore, even though the ship itself, the Navis, is still technically adjacent to where the breach to the mycelial network was in the previous episode, it doesn't mean that the mycelial construct that they'll be looking for, that their first officer was lost in, is in the same relative spot in the mycelial network. So you're still going to have to travel through the network to a certain extent in order to try and find the mycelial construct. So Unit Hello, which is the artificial intelligence that was found way back in, I think, episode 4, which was an ancient computer core from an advanced lost civilization, the Tilikal, and you've since recovered, well, I should say, Nova since recovered 2 additional inoperative cores, and it's been determined that in order to increase Unit Hello's computational power, the other 2 inert cores have been attached to Hello, so its computing power is increased. Not only that, but Hello is also going to be connected up to the navigational array, the navigational computer, so that it can compute the correct probabilities to suggest the course that the ship needs to take. However, I'm looking forward to the many, many dice that will be rolled anywhere. Well, we rolled a heck of a lot of dice last week in preparing for all of this, so yeah, we're going to see how those rolls equated to action tonight. But this is me going over what we did last week, so... where was I? Yes, right. it was determined that in order to assist with the rapid navigational changes that are going to be needed whilst in the network, Lieutenant Commander Thazanan, the ship's chief helm officer, would be connected up to the navigational computer via his bionic eye implant. No, that's okay. You can keep, you can keep suggesting stuff. Schrodinger's Steve. By all means, ask questions. That's cool. I'm just giving summaries on what happened last week. As much for John, who wasn't with us last week, to catch everybody up, including remind myself. It's useful to go over my notes again. So, you've got how to get into the network, you've got how to navigate the network, more or less. In order to assist with that navigation, a coherent resonator was made to interact with the spores in order to create a dark matter-powered navigational device. Ooh. And I think that's it. Oh, no, the sensors were patched with an eye towards scanning for the mycelial construct that Andrews got lost in, so that when you do enter the mycelial network, the sensors are going to be looking at specifically for the mycelial construct in order to try and pinpoint where Andrews might be in relation to it. And hopefully, if she's still close by, your first officer might be detectable and communicable via the comm array in her EV suit, or at least very least her comm badge. The crew not knowing, of course, that while she's been in the mycelial network and the mycelial construct itself, Andrews has actually fashioned, to the best of her ability, like a communication broadcast beacon. So we'll see how well that ended. So, have I missed anything? Are there any questions, points to bring up, anything that anybody needs to remind me of before we get on with what actually happened?
All non-essential ship's personnel are out in shuttlecraft, hiding around a shield.
Very good point. Thank you for reminding me. Yes.
The only parasite craft we've still got attached to the ship is possibly the work B at this point.
Right, that's right. Yes, you wanted as few personnel on the ship as possible, just in case things went wrong. And as such, most of the ships, like the shuttles, the runabout, and the attack fighter.
That, and we filled the hangar bay with a very large flywheel.
That's right. So the hangar bay, being the biggest, most open space on the entire ship, running from one side to the other, has got the flywheel installed within it. Yes, indeed. Awesome. Thank you for reminding me. Was that it, or have I forgotten something else that somebody else has remembered? No. Cool. All right. Whew. So, essentially, for this, let's think. We're going to need... Right, it was Nova and Edwards, because of their familiarity with Tilical technology, that were going to be... that installed the extra cores to Unit Hello, and also have wired Hello up to the navigational systems. So, if we quickly move to...
You speed round that, if I remember correctly.
So this is the Navis's navigational sensor array room. So we've got Hello in its current state of just a single crystal core, patched up rudely to its other two brethren. Nova and Edwards are both on hand to keep monitoring that. Hang on, Schrodinger's Steve is back. When you save Andrew, are you going to give him slack for getting lost in the mycelial network? Well, to be fair to Andrews did get lost in the mycelial network, saving Lieutenant Nova from being lost in the network as well. So, kind of a hero's gambit that happened there, so you can't fault her for that at all. Oh yes, and because Lieutenant Commander Thazanan, the Chief Helm Officer, has to be tied up to the navigational array, Here he is, ready to have his bionics linked up, and of course, because there's going to be a large amount of information filtering through Commander Thazanan's brain, the Chief Medical Officer and Nurse Bravo are on hand
To clean up the soup that might leak.
Well, I weren't going to say nothing. I was about to say just monitor Keval's
Those
state.
complications are going to pop up somewhere.
We promise not to break it too much, just enough.
What a hero. I shall throw him a hero's parade throughout the galaxy. Well, I think Commander Sophia Andrews has definitely earned some kind of recognition at the very least. But this is definitely going to be a team effort to get Andrews back here. So, right. So the guys in the navigational navigational sensor array, pardon me, are going to be, of course, Keval and his medical monitors, Nova and Edwards because of their familiarity with the ancient CPU core units H31L0 or hello. Rolled a 1. Do they like cheese and pineapple on sticks? Yes, as far as party preparations go, if you did roll a complication, that would be the best they'd manage. The replicators were suddenly out, so this is the best we can manage. Just one guy in a kazoo. Welcome back to the ship. We didn't manage to create a fanfare for you because we wrecked the ship so much, but here's one guy with a kazoo. Anyway.
Banging two spanners together.
One guy with a pair of spoons. Anyway, we're going to nick off now to the main engine room, where if we go to here, let's take away Lieutenant Claude. He's needed elsewhere. Hang on, I just remembered someone we do need here in the reaction cube is going to be Lieutenant Natala. So Commander Natala, with her knowledge of quantum mechanics, was the one who should really be monitoring the reaction chamber itself. Nobody actually needs to be in the reaction chamber for this. Gonorrhea will be back later. Cheerio. Thanks for tuning in. Yes, so Natala will be able to monitor the reaction cube. Vibers will probably be back and forth. But we can start off with the reaction chamber. Nobody actually needs to be in the reaction chamber because you've created the coherent resonator, so nobody actually needs to be in the chamber for the ship to be able to navigate the mycelial network. But you've pretty much... Sorry, what was that?
I think Vibers, Natala and Bravo will be at the engineering control console, juggling that and the other bits and pieces.
Right. Certainly Bravo and Vibers. Natala could probably do with staying somewhere close to the reaction chamber. Yeah. But as has quite rightly been pointed out, Vibers and Bravo being the two primary engineers, probably going to find themselves pulled in a myriad of directions. What was I going to say? I've lost the thread of my thoughts, so we'll just go with, yes, I totally agree with what you guys said. So that's where you guys are going to be posted for now. So we've got the doc, not in sickbay, but in the navigational sensor array, monitoring Commander Thazanan. So if we go briefly back to the bridge, I'll keep folks' tokens here so you can access them quickly, if needs be, for tasks and checks and whatnot. But I think that's everything. Unless I've missed something. So is everybody happy with that, or have I forgotten somebody?
Just waiting for the potential explosion of a flywheel.
Seems reasonable.
Alrighty.
As we run out of gum, tape, and paper clips for the necessary repairs when it starts shaking apart.
All right.
Oh, that's loud.
All right then. So the crew have been busy. The replicator gel supplies in the ship have been pretty well used during the last 8. Oh, how many hours was it? 9, 12? You guys sped through creating a lot of very advanced tech, but it did take quite a few hours to do. As such, I suppose it's now or never, unless there are any other preparations folks want to make, or unless... John, are you happy with that very, very quick catch-up?
Yes, all good.
Okay. Theoretically, what did you write? Theoretically, this computing power in connection and navigational interface would be very similar to what you would be needed to convert the ship into a temporal vessel that connects to dimensional travel. Yes, indeed.
Redacted.
Oh, that caused a very brief flash in my brain of something that I should have mentioned, but it's now gone, so I'm just going to assume that I'll remember it later if it's important. I am registering that Webby, you appear to still be stuck in the navigational sensor array map.
Am I? Yeah, loading main engine room now.
We've since moved to the bridge, so you're a couple of maps behind.
Yeah, I don't seem to be loading, so...
do you want me to kick you and let you reload again, or do you want to...
just reload the bridge. I should join across.
I have loaded the bridge, but...
Well, just drag me to the scene. There you go.
There we are. You're there. Yeah, cool. Alright then. Captain Ducasse. All department heads report ready status. So, the different departments basically have to sound off. So, first things first, the shields station, whoever's going to be activating the shields, more than likely Claude, I would imagine, in order to activate the spinning subspace field. We have also got engineering, who have to report status on the dark matter flywheel, who report their ready status.
Standing by, and flywheel's idling nicely. Ready to go, Captain.
So, next report status is going to be the reaction chamber.
Chamber harmonic stable, Captain.
Okay. Next up is going to be linked to the reaction chamber and the navigational sensor array and computer is going to be unit H31L0, monitored by both Nova and Edwards. So they have to put their status.
AI unleashed.
Ready, Captain?
And of course, the actual navigator who's going to be flying the ship through the mycelial network.
Ready, Captain.
And of course, the doctor who's going to be monitoring said pilot's status. Alright then. Prepare to engage the spore drive. Set station 1. Activate spinning subspace field. So Claude doesn't actually need to do anything. They just have to activate the sequence has been programmed into the main computer. There's the sound of power being shunted through the shields as such. One power gets shunted into the shields. I hasten to note, as I've just brought up the Navis's character sheet, it shouldn't have any effect on the spinning subspace field's creation, but the ship did take damage to some of its shield generators when it was traveling through the Midnight Cloud Dark Matter Nebula. That has yet to be repaired, but you've still got plenty of other shield generators that are picking up the slack. So 1 power goes to the shields, creating the spinning subspace field. Plort reports that the spinning subspace field has been activated and is spinning up. Next up should be the reaction chamber. So this is where the mycelial spores are injected into the chamber, and the saturation level has to go up to 68% in order to create a stable connection to the network. So, one would imagine that Ensign Jenny Eric, who had been assisting Dr. Bertram in creating very quickly enough spores to collect to create the needed saturation level, has since delivered them to main engineering and the reaction chamber. So these spores are ready to be injected into the reaction chamber. As such, Commander Natala inserts the spores into the delivery system, and the sparkly blue and green spores enter into the reaction chamber, and the saturation level goes up and up and up until it reaches the required levels. And it's at that point, if I can just find it, as everybody starts to hear a humming sound, and everyone starts looking around a little bit, especially on the bridge, where everyone can hear this. It started off as a sub-audible humming, but it's definitely something you can hear now. And everyone feels a vibration start to go in the vibration in the floor. And if they're standing and holding onto a console, they can feel a vibration on the console that they're currently touching.
All phases complete.
The vibration gets more and more and more, and is starting to build up, and then suddenly an alert sounds out. And just at that point, there is a sudden violent lurch to one side as everybody tumbles from wherever they were stood or sat as the ship rocks. There have been 2 breaches to the ship's structure and 2 breaches to the ship's engines. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So, first things first, structure. Whenever structure suffers 1 or more breaches, the entire ship shudders, and the personnel are hurled around. Webby, since you're currently unoccupied, I'm going to ask you to roll a d6, a challenge die, please. Actually, I'm going to ask you to roll it twice, but we'll deal with that in a moment.
Synchronizing.
Challenge die slash R. D6.
That was a 1, which luckily for you was not an effect. Can I have another one, please, for the second breach?
So was that second one? Sorry.
A second one, please. Yes, I want to see if there's another. I neglected to ask for 2d6. That was not an effect either. Cool. So there's good news. What's the bad news? Who shall I pick on next? Eeny, meeny, miny. John, you've just come back. Can you do me a favor and go to rollable tables on Foundry, please?
Incoming message.
Do you know how to find that?
Indeed. Yes.
Cool. Can you find random deck hit? Is it there for you?
It is not.
Alright, let me change that so that folks can observe it. How about now?
Yes.
Cool. Can I get you to roll on random deck hit, please? Twice. So the table should have a button to allow you to roll in it at the bottom right. Deck 13. Flight deck operations and maintenance.
Aren't we running on skeleton crew, by the way?
Yes.
We did. Yeah, we ordered everyone to evacuate. So some of these decks is
damage
like.
control teams.
Deck 13 and Deck 3 both suffer structural damage. So living quarters, secondary shuttle and fighter maintenance hangar, flight deck operations and maintenance, non-commissioned officers' quarters, the holodecks.
So deck 13 is currently the flywheel, is that right?
Yep.
Yep. Routing flight deck ops to engineering.
Well,
also, the primary shield generators on
Oh,
deck
yes.
3. That's slightly more important because that's the one that's generating the spinning
Yeah.
mycelial
field. So shields get knocked down to half as a result, but we haven't dealt with. Let's see. So if the total number of breaches is equal to or greater than half the scale of the ship, the scale is 5, so it's not. So you're fine there. You've suffered impact damage there from the structure hitting, but of course, yes, that's chained out to the flywheel and the primary shield generators, which, as has been pointed out, is doing. So we've got a bit of a runaway failure on the spinning subspace field and the area where the flywheel is housed. Now we're going to look to what happened when the engines took 2 breaches. Whenever the engines suffers 1 or more breaches, it disrupts functions and the ship loses 2 power, which means the Navis loses 4 power. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's fine. It'll just walk it off. Navis.
Further, 1 internal systems officer. Until systems officer performs restore, all tasks to do with engines are made 1 more difficult. So everyone flies around, and basically the captain just yells, "Shut it off now!" As the but really you don't need to shut it off because the shields took damage, therefore the spinning subspace field basically gets lost and it spins out and just dies off by its own accord. But yes, damage control, which is reported by the comms officer, which in this case is Ensign Keshen. Damage reports that, yes, Deck 3 and Deck 13 have both taken damage, as it seems that structural integrity in those areas took a hit, as a great deal of vibrational energy was set through the ship's superstructure and just seemed to explode in that area, which caused a bit of a catastrophic chain reaction through the ship. As such, yes, there's been damage to the structure, the flywheel, and the shields, and the spinning subspace field has died, which means that the whole system has had to be shut down. No one, thankfully, suffered any injuries, but Commander Natala, can I get you to give me a reason plus science check, difficulty 1, please, very, very quickly.
Would this be a quantum mechanics or sensors?
In this case, actually, yes, pardon me. I'll allow that. 1 success, which was all you needed. Cool. Right, the system has been shut down. Awesome. That means, and it seems that no damage has been done to the reaction chamber. You've just realized, however, that the spores themselves get used up in the in the process of creating that quantum connection to the Mycellial Realm. Luckily, the ship hasn't gone into the Mycellial Realm yet. However, the mycelial spores are now floating around in the reaction cube, and they don't have an extraordinarily long life. And you've just realised you've only got one canister.
Yeah, got to re-extract them back into the canister.
And that needs to be done pretty quick smart.
Yep. Working on that.
So that's going to be a very fast control and engineering job. You can, if I quickly move us to main engineering on the map, you can request help from Lieutenant Bravo.
Yep.
Because one imagines that Commander Vibers is going to be a little busy.
Shit!
Ship.
Yep.
As in the ship.
There's pieces everywhere. It's not supposed to be pieces everywhere.
Right, so this is going to be, yes, a control and engineering check. I'm going to allow... This is going to fall under Starfleet safety protocols, I think, for Natala. And as far as Bravo, let's say... Shaun, you may as well have a go at this for now. You can get Bravo to assist with a control and engineering check. This is for damage control and repair kind of thing, I would imagine, as a focus. Just one dice. Ooh, we've already got 2 successes and an extra success, 2 above what you needed. There's 2 momentum to the momentum pool. Awesome. You managed to recapture enough mycelial spores that you should, hopefully, fingers crossed, have enough for 68% saturation when you have to, hopefully, do this again. But there's a lot of... Natala notices a lot of shouting going on in the main engineering compartment. So, yes, we have a bit of a problem. So, to diagnose the problem... Commander Fibers. Yeah, basically going to be a control and engineering task, and... just use computers. This can be assisted by the ship. So,
Yep.
Jan, if you fancy being the Navis? Let's say, let me see, ships, what should we say? For damage control, sensors and... Sensors and engineering. Yeah, I agree. Sensors and engineering. I'm going to make this difficulty 1 again.
System stable.
The systems are not that stable, but hell, we'll go with what the computer just said.
We may have computer problems as well.
Oh, hello!
Nope, that's definitely not right.
So,
can I burn some? I'm burning some momentum. I can use momentum for extra dice, can't I?
yes, you can.
Which one's extra dice?
Whether or not you've got a talent or an ability to...
You do. I remember you've got one which is if you make an advantage, you get a free reroll for engineering.
Didn't you have the ignore... ignore a complication, or was it
either
reroll a
ignore or
complication?
re-roll. Let's check. Technical expertise.
think it might be
whenever you
re-roll.
attempt a task
Okay.
shipped by the computer's sensors, you may re-roll a dice.
So, right. So if I burn 2, I can re-roll 1, and because we're using the computer, I can re-roll.
So if you burn
That's
1 momentum,
so-
you can roll 3 dice rather than your regular 2. And
Yeah.
one of your talents will allow you to re-roll that complication.
I can re-roll that computer one, yeah.
3 successes, very nice. And underneath, where you've done that, you can re-roll that, which is a 0, but it's better than a complication, so much better. You got 3 successes, so 1 above what you need, so you get 1 momentum back to the pool. Yes, right. It seems there was a miscalculation in the flywheels configuration. and the dark matter came loose from its containment just enough so that the vibration from the excess energy being generated was going straight out into the ship's superstructure. So the flywheel.
Supposed to do that.
Well, it was supposed to take all the excess energy and store it, but unfortunately it seems that the flywheel wasn't quite configured correctly enough. Some of that excess energy bled out, and it bled out into the ship's superstructure.
Oh, that vibers.
So it looks like you're gonna have to try it again. Also, it seems that you've only got enough mycelial spores to try this one more time. So if you don't get the next attempt right, and or pull something very clever out of your butts, you might not have enough mycelial energy to make the jump to the mycelial network.
Does that also mean that we would have to harvest more spores to get out?
Yes. Now, part of your plan to retrieve Andrews, or the plan to retrieve Andrews, does involve somehow materializing inside of the mycelial network in order to allow Andrews to get back on board, or for somebody to go out and look for her.
So rapid harvesting as we arrive is an option.
It looks like it's going to have to be, yes. Potentially so. So, I'm just going to have a quick 2 minutes to use the facility, so if anybody else wants to have a quick break to do the same, I'll understand. But if you also want to use the time to have a think about what you want to do next, or it's probably just going to be repairing what's gone wrong, to be honest, but nonetheless, I'm going to be back in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, as they say, and we'll see what you guys think about where we've ended up. Back in a moment.
Yeah. Tara, I might need an extra adult in main hangar.
I'm all...
Gonna need another Timmy.
I need an adult. I'm not mature enough to make decisions on my own. Though I'm probably the
Like I
oldest.
said,
I'm pretty sure the
another
personnel decisions
adult.
are the responsibility of the EXO. Where is she?
Doctor, I hate to break this to you, but what do you think we've been doing for the last 12 hours?
Tell you what you'd be doing for the last 12 hours, avoiding the boss lectures again.
Well, if someone had paid more attention to their own moss lectures, we'd have enough mycelial cells.
If someone had paid attention to the boss lectures, then maybe they wouldn't have been defeated and kidnapped by a bunch of fungus.
or, I think the correct answer there was if you had attended the boss lecture, you'd realise that these were not moths.
And that is a mistake Andrews made. She treated fungus like moss. That was lecture 27.
What's the difference between a fungus and a moss?
Yeah. I mean, at the time, Andrews goes, "Really, Doctor, I have much more important paperwork to be doing." Well, I bet she feels dumb now, doesn't she?
Difference between moss and mushrooms. Moss will creep up on you with stealth, rather than mushrooms will convince you they're a fungi.
Get out. Just go. Just go.
Unfortunately, since our chef and favourite bartender has escaped with whatever expensive alcohol we had on board, we do have quite a lot of fungi ad astra available.
They are
if we need it.
Mr. Minoko's still on board. He's essential. What are you on about?
Ooh, and I'm back.
But I thought we needed strong command level people on the shuttlecraft.
Yeah, Mr.
So
Monoko.
Judas in charge.
So Vibus has asked Natala to help with the flywheel problem.
Right.
Didn't you help last time?
Ish. Yes. Yeah. There was some help, definitely.
That does mean that currently, who's fixing the shields?
That'd be a Nova.
Yeah, it sounds like a Nova issue. That's a power dynamics issue.
As well
Like,
as Nova.
operations do damage control. The damage control teams are sitting on shuttles about half a mile that way.
So at the moment, Nova has been seconded, of course, to navigational sensor control, but she can always be taken off of that in order to help repair the shields. So, yeah. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I think we're gonna need those.
Right, so let's see. Damage shield generators, that's going to stay. You're going to have to somehow repair the shields. So this is not going to be a short job by any stretch of the imagination.
We've also
Go
got
on.
damage shield array emitters, haven't we? Makes it even more fun.
Well, we loaded up on extras before we came out. We got the good kind of paper clips, the metal ones, not the plastic ones.
Well, let's see if Nova can get the shield generators working again. Let's see. Well, we've established now that her go-to attribute is daring. And inner workings, shields as a focus is probably a better one for this, and engineering as a discipline, so...
And if you're lucky, you can either get the ones we just broke or the ones we broke previously. Either will do the job.
Either will indeed do the job. Does Nova want any help from any other characters, maybe?
Does she help?
I'm not sure if she'd just allow that to be.
Or would she want Edwards to keep monitoring Hello while she disappears into the shields?
She doesn't trust you with her.
Well, if you're gone, then who else is going to watch Hello?
Hello.
He's
Hello
like
looks
them.
after himself.
Yeah. As far as she's concerned, Hello's a member of the crew, so she's not.
Right.
I'm not going to suggest that heresy.
So, Hello is just left to its own devices.
I'm still there.
Well, yeah.
Hello's monitoring Keval, Keval's monitoring Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
It's a feedback.
Hey, you could route power from inside the computer. That is something you can do.
So yeah, whoever wants to do the repair shields jobby can do so. It's more than likely going to be a daring job with Nova. If somebody does want to assist, I mean, after the last complication with using the Navis, I think that the ship itself is feeling a bit hurt.
Oh,
Bit
get over
spaced.
it.
But you can get the ship to assist if you really want to. Up to you. What would you like to do?
I think she'd leave as much resources to other things as she can.
Yeah, there's a lot of banging and machinery going on around here. Right, so... yeah, basically make your checks then. I'll make this difficulty... let's see. I'll make this difficulty 2 due to the number of breaches that have happened.
Was Nova happy for the assistance, or was she doing this by herself?
Like I say, she'd be more focused at other places, get things so it's purely voluntary. She's not asked for
Okay,
Oh,
so whoever wants to volunteer can,
Yeah.
otherwise she's going to do it herself. That's
Does it have to be What would I use then? Engineering plus control?
You're trying to figure out how to repair the system, so it'll be less control, but at the same
Insight?
time, insight will do me fine. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, that'll do great. 2 successes for Nova, so you've already got what's needed. So anything that Edwards generates is gravy. So yeah, when momentum comes back to the pool, you're back to maximum. So shield power gets restored back through the shield emitters. You've got the same number of blown emitters as before, but you're back up to what the previous shield strength was, at least.
Can I use this? Conjunction with this.
Okay. Once per mission, the character may gain 2 bonus momentum on a successful task. If the character has earned this multiple times, then you can be used once during a mission for each medal or honor rewarded. Well, you've generated a chuckload of momentum already. Whenever you succeed at engineering aboard your own ship, you may want momentum to regain spent power. Right, I see. So we're regaining power using that. Cool. So you usually gain 1 power per success. You got an extra 2. You got an extra 4, which means you regained quite a few bits of power there. Nice. Okay, so thanks to Nova's tinkering, Vibers finds that the power grid has got a good bit more juice flowing through it again, thankfully. Some conduits did take some damage due to the amount of energy being rumbled through the superstructure. And heavens knows those EPS conduit connections can be finicky at the best of times, but in this case, we seem to be back on a level playing field with what we started with. So, okay. So who was going to... Right, the first we need to do is now fix the flywheel. Because that wasn't quite done properly. So let's see. The best idea for this would probably be reason and engineering, with Natala adding the same. She can either add safety protocols as a focus this time to make sure that this thing is done properly, or she can try and recompute the maths, the quantum level maths behind it, in order to ensure that the field destabilization doesn't happen again. So either or is fine with me.
I think we're more concerned with making sure it's properly disconnected from the hull. So probably be more
Yes.
safety.
Alrighty then. So whoever wants to take the lead, either the characters makes sense. So it's whatever you want to use to make the best use of your talents and abilities on the off chance something goes awry.
Right. Do you want to take the lead on this one? But I would like to burn 2 momentum to give us an advantage. And
You'll grab the manuals.
Okay.
I'm grabbing the manuals while you're grabbing the safety. While you're looking at it with safety protocols. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're creating an advantage. Adherence to safety protocols to make sure that it's extra.
Procedural compliance. I have a manual.
There we are. Lovely.
Right. Okay. So that is control and engineering for me, I believe.
3 successes. You've already hit the number that I wanted.
And then you can re-roll that 20 off the procedural compliance.
You're not having much luck with this thing, are you?
Yep,
There you
Oh,
go.
there we go. Lovely.
This is why we have the manual.
Vibers is not allowed.
By
Is
the
it
way, make sure you plug the fuse into socket 3 and do not attach to the ground cable.
What
I think
were
I
you gonna
know
say,
why
Webby?
the. Yeah, I think I know where the
Vibers
manual
is
went.
not allowed. It's not allowed. Dark matter and vibers now is just like, ooh, dark matter. Everyone else is like, no vibers.
Well,
No.
well, to be honest, I said if he read the manual, he would have done it. Instead of using it to prop up the bloody flywheel.
That's what Nova was doing.
Which explains why Vipers couldn't find the manual in order to engage the safety protocols.
Yeah, it's just like I was using it to get rid of a wobble and forgot about it.
Vibers did a Nova and now regrets his decision.
It was fine. It's just the fact that our ship's non-standard and it was put together against the standard setups, and we'd have
What's that?
stopped them.
Natala takes exception to anything to do with standard configuration. On this ship, are you kidding? Right, okay. After taking time to run safety simulations on the flywheel, you are now reasonably certain that this will now do what it was supposed to, which is store all the potential energy that was going to be channeled through the ship's superstructure.
We're also going to spin it up in a bit in advance of the shield starting to spin, so
All
it's
right.
taking the energy in before it's being pushed in.
Okay, noted.
You're doing a hot start, in other words, rather than a cold start, because that adds a hell of a lot more stress from cold starting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Vipers' previous assessment of "it's fine" did not work that time. So a small amount of crow was eaten. However, right then. Anything else anybody else wants to do before we try attempt number 2?
Good job Andrew wasn't here.
We wanted to set up the basically the scoop for getting as much of the spores into our containment as we can.
Good idea. This could probably do with a bit of liaison with Dr. Bertram, because Dr. Bertram worked in the Arboretum to try and create a means of creating as many, to cultivating as many specimens as possible in as short a space of time. So rather than take us back to the Arboretum map, I will keep us here on the bridge. So, in concert with the dock, excuse me, Keval doing New York. How you doing?
No.
Just no.
Hello, from Texas, unfortunately.
So I've been doing the wrong accent this entire time. Well, shoot dang!
Next time there's difficult piloting going on, I do want Keval go, hey, I'm flying here.
I'm walking. No, I'm not even going to attempt.
You kind of got
I
to talk
started
out of one
anyway.
side of your mouth.
Do say most New Yorkers ever had a stroke? Gotcha.
So that now means we're at 15 tonight. So.
I don't swear. I just mentioned the medical
No,
condition.
Matt did.
Oh, right.
Matt did by saying a gentleman's appendage.
I did.
I mean, that was feeding through my cerebral repairs.
That was definitely shit.
Yeah, I heard shit. Admittedly, I pronunciate the P better than him.
I don't enunciate as well when I'm talking New York. And anyone who's from New York that's listening, I'm really sorry.
It's too late now. They've already disconnected.
They've
As
already
soon as you got onto the New York thing, instead my head just went on a completely different tangent to avoid listening to you. And so what I've been thinking about is, with the heavy flywheel, like what yo-yo tricks could we do with the Navis as it currently stands? So do we best
On
with
the
the gravity
world.
ball or the sleeper?
We can walk the dog. Actually, it is in
Space
the
walk the
hangar
dog.
bay, so we could actually bounce it out the doors if we wanted to.
I think that was
Oh,
part of
that's
the
a bit
problem
harsh.
previously, when it kind of went on walkies all by itself.
No comment.
You found the flywheel a couple of meters from his previous location. To those from New York, move to New Claught, named after your rocky demigod. Yes, thank you, Gareth. In any case, yes.
Be made to meme.
So yes, the best means of creating a mycelial spore scoop and receptacle location is probably going to be required here. So a good bit of thought from both whoever wants to get involved in it. I mean, this is going to involve a certain amount of engineering, a certain amount of science, and a certain amount of botany, or mycology if you want to get really specific. So we've got 3 potential departments that can combine their efforts here. Now, because Natala has been busy working on not only the reaction chamber, but also helping fix the flywheel, we could probably do it
fairly available.
Yeah, we can use some of the supporting characters for this if needs be. So, who would you like to work on this? I mean, we've already had Ensign Jenny Eric, who was brought in as kind of a liaison between science and Bertram's botany, which sounds really dirty when I say it like that.
Bertram's botany, otherwise known as BB.
I think it's what liaisoning with his botany.
No.
I know who we need to bring in on this one.
Don't say Claude.
We need to bring in Webby's favourite character.
We do need to bring in Mr. Claude will just pull out the flipping.
I think he's
No, I was
affected
going
the
to
tune.
say bring in Latude.
Nah.
Yeah.
Your transporters and tractor beams. Is
Yeah, absolutely.
Beams. It's a valid option.
Makes a good point.
Mr. Monaco, he knows how to.
Yeah, Mr. Monaco just turns up with sort of like glass in his hand. And he's like, "Hello."
That's good. He's great with containers.
Well,
He
Yeah,
just know how to make a good cocktail.
He's got the steadiest hands on the ship. Even
as it
steadier than the
turns out,
doctor's.
yes. Next to the doctor. Yeah. Alright, so yes, good idea. Latude, because they're going to need to be beamed over. I mean, someone from science in lieu of Natala, who's a bit busy. The doc, who's going to need to provide the specifications on where to house them and how best to house the samples. Let's think. Who would be best? I mean, Bertram as lead with Eric and Latude as support makes a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, we deliberately swapped Jenny's stats around so that she was there to assist.
Yep. So how about we get Webby and Jan to take over for Latude and Eric. Whoever wants to be Latude better call it now before the other one gets it.
Jan.
Okay. I like how you called it to pass it on. That was very
Delegated.
delegated. My communicator badge is obscure. So I suppose that leaves us with what this role is going to, what this task check is going to be. So yeah, you're going to be beaming over spores, beaming them into a containment area. The containment area is going to need to be thought about, and the containment area is going to need to be secure enough that the mycelial spores don't just drift throughout the ship. So yeah, reason medicine for Bertram makes sense with a focus on botany. Let's make this difficulty 3, but I'm going to spend a threat to up the complication range, because if you get this wrong, it could mean interesting times for getting out of the mycelial network. Jenny can probably assist with reason and science, because she's the bridge between the medicine.
Is she allowed to use botany as a focus?
Yeah, because you're dealing with botanical life forms in a way.
Spend a momentum, everyone.
Go for it.
Yeah, sure.
This will leave Latude with only 1 dice able to be rolled, but it's Latude. He only needs 1 dice. Ooh, wow, lots of successes here. which leaves the Chewed with his knowledge of transporters. So this could just as easily be control and engineering. 1 dice for the Chewed with his focus in.
Jenny's rolls for me showed up as error.
I got 3 successes.
Cool.
Yeah, she learned very quickly from Bertram, it seems.
Mm-hmm. So, transporter operations for Lechewd. If you please, Mr. Yan. 1 success.
Something
Wow.
else to add to the buffers.
Mm-hmm. Wowza. Okay, so you are all very confident that you have created a foolproof containment method and a means of transporting any mycelial spores that you wish to from the network into the containment fields, into a containment area, in such a way that it doesn't damage them in any way, shape, or form, so that there are plenty of them in order to use them for what you want. So yeah, well done. Very nice. Luckily, the highest rolled was a 17, so you were close, but not that close to the complication range. Nice. Okay, well done. So, you've created the means by which you can scoop some mycelia out. So how about we try this again? Before we kick this into action. Is everybody got anybody got anything else they want to add to the mix? Before we fire this off.
I'd like to cook some fish.
Mr. Minoko goes off to cook some fish. For no reason other than he's got
I was
nothing
actually
else
thinking,
to do.
I was thinking about Andrews, but no, Mr. Minoko now goes to cook fish. He's like, I'm done here. I'll be cooking the fish.
As a celebratory slap-up meal for when Andrews comes back. Okay.
It's like the fact he's an essential part of the crew.
Well, I was just thinking the same thing, yeah.
Well,
He-
the
he accounts
replicators are
essential
almost
to-
out.
Sorry, I talked over you there, John.
Well, the replicators are almost out, so he's going to go and see what he...
Well, good point. Good point. Yeah, exactly. He's like, you rely so much on replicators, but who's laughing now? I told you needed me. Anywho.
Mr. Minoko is the cooler version of Neelix. He's the Neelix we. It's the Neelix we.
Most things are the cooler version of Neelix.
He's the Neelix. He's the Neelix that we wish for, not the Neelix that we ended up with. Oh.
Hell, I'd go for it. I'd go for a version of Jar Jar Binks. At least you know he disappears
Steady
before anything
now.
major.
Careful. And
Hey,
there's our
don't
cross-ref franchise reference of the night.
Don't disrespect
Jar-
Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah, see, Jar Jar knows when to disappear. Neelix doesn't.
Right, well, on that heavy note, let's try that again. Okay, so the captain once again asks for a rundown. All stations report ready status. So the shields, actually no, the flywheel is spun up in advance.
There's a delay because Mr. Minoko's cooking fish.
Power fluctuates
Yes.
for a minute as all power is channeled to the grill.
This is going to be some damn cooked fish.
Connect the warp core directly to the grill.
Fibers to what did we call his bar?
It's just
We never
a
actually
mess
called it the bar. Yeah, it's just a mess.
Fibers to the mess.
Fibers to officer's mess.
Not even.
Can we not use up an entire reactor's worth of power, please? I only have
Sorry.
2.
Sorry, sir.
Do you want
Sorry,
this fish
sir.
cooked in minutes or seconds? Your choice.
I'll put the fish on the back burner,
Your
sir.
way as well.
The fact that the back burner was the warp core is neither here nor there, but we'll move on from that.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, won't happen again.
In any case, the dark matter flywheel is fired up first, spins into action. All seems nominal, and lights are in the green. The ship's shield starts creating the rotating, spinning subspace field, and everybody waits with bated breath for a couple of moments as the ship's internal systems register that the flywheel is now drawing on the power, hides the red light bulbs. Well,
Let's replace
just
them with
as
green ones, so it goes from green alert to green alert.
Right, so now the spinning subspace field is activated and lights are still in the green. The flywheel seems to be doing its job now, which means the reaction chamber now needs to have its mycelial spores inserted into it, and they are successfully delivered. But this is the last time you can do this without.
I think we've got enough spores to get us there, Captain. I'm not sure about getting us back.
Noted, Commander, replies the captain. A couple of nervous looks from some of the junior members of the bridge crew are the most that passes between folks at that particular point. And so, the power begins to build up as the captain calls for the navigational crew to be ready. As the spinning energy builds up to a point, and the ship is then seen to seemingly spin in space before it then drops into the mycelial network. And just for the sake of Jan and folks,
you cannot own a token with vision on this scene.
Hey!
Yay! The ship is detonated.
Vipers, you turned off all the lights.
Hey, who turned out the lights?
Turns out hiding the red light bulbs. We've gone to red alert, but there's no light bulbs in any of the red alert lighting, and so we're just in
condition
darkness.
blue throughout the ship.
let me put the ship in here as well, actually.
Andrews, you were supposed to keep the lights on for our return.
Yes, indeed, you can hum the tune if you really want.
Wait, I know this. It's the time tunnel. When we go up the speed, we all have to move in slow motion.
No,
All right.
this is Slipstream.
The amount of CPU use on Hello now rises exponentially. Hello diverts one of its cores, or one of its CPU cores to one of its processing cores, pardon me, to deal with the sensory data coming in, so that it can keep an eye out, as it were, for the energy signature of the mycelial construct that you guys were in previously, whilst the other two cores are dealing with the massive probabilities that have to be calculated. And poor Keval, as soon as the ship enters into the mycelial network, his brain activity shoots up and goes pretty much up into the red line. At which point, I am going to roll. Alright, Keval takes 5 stress as a tremendous amount of information is fed into his brain, and he visibly strains against the internal pressure in his head as he's trying to pilot a course which is happening in, course corrections that happen in microseconds. As he's going on, yes, antennaing twitch. He's been kind of secured, the Dr. Bertram and Nurse Bravo kind of secured Keval's hands to the chair he's sitting on, so that his body and brain have the idea that there's no console to reach for, no controls to use. Plus, he was blindfolded so that the sensory data he's getting from his eyepiece, which is what's connected to the navicomputer, he only processes that. He doesn't have to deal with his brain's usual dealing with visual stimuli as well. It was all done as a means of medically trying to lessen the input load on poor Keval's brain. But it doesn't seem to have lessened the tremendous amount of information being projected into Keval's brain, unfortunately, even though the eyepiece is kind of being used as a buffer to try and interpret the data that he's receiving, so that in a way it's almost visualizing this tunnel-like effect. So Keval is getting the interpretation of different branching tunnels that are color-coded differently by hello, so that those with the better probability are highlighted maybe in, say, green or blue, depending on Keval's preference, because it's his brain that interprets it. And darker colors or red-colored ones are the ones that you don't want to proceed down. But it is taking a tremendous amount of strain to keep concentration on what he's doing, and Keval is really feeling it. As such, the Doctor is registering, and Dr. Bertram is registering a tremendous, even dangerous amount of neural activity in Keval's brain. But to stop it or impede it in any way at this point could be doubly dangerous, because the ship, well, the impact on the ship and therefore the crew could be very, very, very bad. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask for Jan to give me an insight plus con task by Keval to pilot the ship successfully. I'm going to spend a threat to up the complication range to see how well he manages with piloting the ship under these difficult circumstances.
Can I get focus for Helm operations or
Yes.
Right.
Because that will help with his familiarity with the systems responding to him.
I'm also going to use a point of momentum. Let's see.
I think that's probably a good idea in this circumstance.
Nah, we trust in Keval. He doesn't need momentum.
Well, depends how much soup's leaked from his eyes, yeah.
4 successes. Very good.
It was once soup.
So it's 1 over what you needed. Well done.
The fact his body's liquidizing doesn't mean his brain's not going to keep working.
It's alright, Latude's got a copy of him in the transporter buffer, it's fine.
So, let me think. At this point, the scan of the network whilst
cloney.
traveling through it is going to need to be done in order to try and pinpoint the location of the mycelial construct in the network. So, let me think. Who would be doing that? Who's available? It
Well,
would make sense.
communications was Edwards for a while.
And to a certain extent, sensor information is also Natala's bag. So the two of them together could work on this.
At this point in time, I wish the probes we send out give off a maximum sort of Mayday beacon. That would make things a lot easier.
The fact that you did that is a very good point. So if you want, you can spend 2 momentum to create an advantage based on the fact that the mycelial construct did get a Class 1 probe attached to it. So you're not only looking out for the mycelial construct, but also the fact that there should be a Federation transponder signal coming from it too. So,
And Andrews is plugged to the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a live feed sensor connected to her neck, so it would be worthwhile spending the momentum for the advantage. So
that would be a potential idea. If we're able to actually find the probe, we'd be able to piggyback off it to sort of link up with the communications in Andrew's bionics.
So yeah, definitely worth creating that advantage. So let me just...
I've done the momentum already.
Cool beans. I will just slap some text down. Something quick and easy to remember. Blob. I'll just park that by there so we all remember. So that, I think, will reduce the difficulty of this task from 3 to 2. I am once again going to spend a point of threat in order to up the complication range to 19 and 20, because once again, if you miss... So, can I get control plus science or control plus engineering Whichever one you want to do to try and pinpoint the construct's location.
All good. Me take the lead on this one as a sensor one.
Yep, whoever wants to take the lead on it.
Yep.
I mean, Natala makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd be channeling in whatever I get via the communications with the probe.
Okay, yep,
My
so you can add your
searches.
communications focus for that then. So Edwards rolls 1 dice. Natala rolls 2. 3, you've already got one over and above what you need, so anything else is gravy, as I like to say.
Did I click it? No, I didn't. Oh yeah.
Ooh, loads of successes. So thankfully, yes, as you're racing through the network, and this is all, because you've all been technically converted to energy, this is all taking place in, as far as you're aware, you are still on your ship. And this is still happening in regular time. But if anyone from outside of the ship were viewing, you're actually, like a blip of energy traveling along this energetic network in like microseconds. But as far as you're concerned, you're still on a physical ship traveling through physical space. Right then, so that was a spectacularly successful one. You managed to latch on to the excuse me, the energetic readings you took of the mycelial construct compared to the rest of its mycelial brethren, and using the probe, you managed to lock onto its location in the network, and as such, you've got a destination to arrive at.
Could I then, as I said, use my idea and try and piggyback off the communication signal between the probe and now us,
Which
try and
means-
fine-tune it into Andrews' communications in our bionics to try and at least set some sort of radio up or something like that.
But the first thing you have to do now is to basically stop the ship inside of the network, close to where you want to land. Very good, John. Science jokes. So, once again, I'm going to ask for insight and con. Actually, control and con from Commander Thazanan for this, to see if he can stop the ship in the right place. Somebody's going to need to be the Navis, though, in this regard. And this is going to be Centaurs and Con, I think, for the ship. Gareth, you haven't done much. What have you?
It can't be
No,
Davis,
no,
he's done too much.
I was just going to say, now stick a dagger in my heart. Was it con and sensors, did you say?
Con and sensors for the ship. Yes, please. And probably, what did I say it was?
Problem.
Insight and con for Keval? Because you're using your brain.
Oh my god, the Navis actually had a success at something.
Not only a success, but dual successes.
Navis has to pick up our slack.
It's because the Navis' brain is Keval.
Oh, nicely
at the
done.
moment. See? Identical results. It must just be everything's running through Keval's subconscious or something.
We are Naval.
We are Naval.
This is going to be a bit weird because of the sound of the breathing, but we move our scene now to inside of the mycelial construct, where our first officer, Commander Andrews, is currently in one of the habitable bubbles inside of the mycelial construct.
The thing that just popped into my head, it's gone a bit castaways, he's just drawn like smiley faces on some of them.
And Andrews is doing what Andrews has been doing, surviving on whatever she can find whilst she's been here. And she's carrying on doing whatever she was doing before when...
Just hunting for the tardigrade.
Literally hunting.
A shockwave kind of rings through the mycelial network, shaking everything. And that's when Andrews gets... Navis to Andrew. Hear us. Over. This is Ensign Keshen. Andrew. Over.
I assume that that's coming through on Andrews' cybernetics rather than her comm badge.
Because you use the you cannibalize the comm badge for a thingy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means it's really weird having a voice inside your head.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, she'll be alarmed that the Navis is making it, but then we'll also try. Do I know where the probe went down?
It landed on one of the outermost bubbles, which coincidentally was this bubble.
Cool.
But
So if it's this bubble,
yeah. Sorry.
so
go
you
on.
first. You first.
Because it hit the exterior, it has degraded a bit because I mean Andrews can see it because you can see through the oh good God, what's the name of the membrane surrounding the bubble? In that it's being attacked by all these glowing blue, almost like tiny little. Almost like fireflies almost. You can only see the glowing part of them, but they've been steadily breaking down the probe ever since you arrived in the Mycellial Realm. So it's not in great shape, and likewise going outside into the Mycellial Realm itself has obviously not been that great an idea because of that very same hazard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was advised to Andrews not to go out there, so she's taken that advice. Okay, so it would be the first thing that she'd do then is then proceed to head to the probe because it's more than likely it still has some sort of power signal, and attempt to fashion a rudimentary booster.
Which means having to go outside quickly.
I'm willing to take that risk. Yeah.
Yep, which carries its own dangers. Now, you did note that Andrews pulled apart most of the gubbins for her EVA suit.
Yeah, the EVA suit's gone.
The suit itself can still be worn as a form of like protective layer. So you've pulled out, to my mind, you've pulled out most of the electronic gubbins.
Yeah, so it's a big heavy suit of metal.
Yeah. But at least it functions as like a barrier between Andrews' skin and the outside. It only lasts so long, however. So, yes, Andrews grabs on what's left of her suit, attaches their helmet, but, you know, the air supply is limited because you've cannibalized most of the systems to create the emergency beacon. As soon as Andrews goes outside, these sparkling blue life forms start to swirl in little clouds, and one of these clusters just beelines straight towards Andrews herself. The moment Andrews stepped outside, Andrews doesn't have to ask where the Navis is. It's there. It's actually crash landed into the mycelial plane. It's sat a good couple of, like a kilometer away from Andrews. It is now a runnable distance, but even from here, Andrews can see that the Navis is now being attacked by clouds of these glowing life forms. So, meanwhile, back on the bridge and everybody inside the ship, they're getting warning alerts that the outer hull is starting to become compromised. In about 20 minutes, the Navis will take an extra breach to its hull, And because it's already taken 2 breaches to its hull, that would make the hull rather badly damaged and could become compromised. So, Andrews isn't aware of this herself, of course. So, yeah. Now, I am going to shift us a little bit back to the bridge for a moment as Lechude pops through over communications. Lechude to bridge. Captain, I'm afraid the vast amount of weird energy going on out there in the mycelial network is scrambling our ability to get a transporter lock on Commander Andrews' signal. At which point the captain just goes, Lieutenant Bravo, form an away team. Put on EVA suits. You're going to have to go out and search for Commander Andrews. At which point, it is now. Well, Andrews is going to have to make a race for the ship.
But I don't want it.
No?
You moved in and that's it. I like it here.
Well, okay.
So, how far a distance is it?
It's a good kilometre. So the
Ooh, a kilometre in plate mail, in full plate.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough slog. But Andrews does have, avid runner. She's pretty fit. It's going to be a slog, but the Jarsep are already breaking down Andrews' EVA suit. In a couple of seconds, they might breach it in several places. So Andrews has to either make a break for the Navis now while it's physically in the network, or go back into the bubble and wait to see whether or not anyone can come rescue her.
The fact that she knows how bad how quickly things are being deteriorated, she's going for it.
Cool. In that
So,
case, then,
survival at any cost to burn determination.
this
Fitness
is going to
security.
be, yep, a fitness
avid
plus
run.
security difficulty 2 task. Let's see how far if you can hoof it.
I want to spend the momentum as well.
Cool.
To gain physical momentum.
Yep.
Indeed. Survival at any costs, very good.
Oh dear, 2 flip.
2 complications. Oh, did I up the complication range? I don't think I did.
No, you didn't spend threat for that one.
No, I didn't. So that's fine. You
Yeah.
just about missed. Right. Yes. Andrews has to pull upon all her stamina to be able to cover a good deal of distance, but it is slow going. But unfortunately, as Andrews is hoofing it, she starts to notice that the weight on her from her EVA suit is becoming less and less and less.
That's fine. It means it's easier to run.
But it also means that she's starting to feel the Jarsep are now trying to burn up patches of her skin, and so that are.
Yeah, it's pain.
But
Just switch off the pain receptors from being part cybernetic. Like, yeah.
So for this particular run, for the distance she covers in this run, Andrews has now lost the resistance that the EVA suit gives her. So we're moving.
All the time she will be telling the ship, sort of like trying to, not psychically, but
trying to send the ship a communication.
yeah, send that to sort of like to evacuate.
You say not psychically, but Nova and Bravo start reaching out, considering there's probably a heck of a lot less interference and noise in empathy and telepathy.
So you're sounding very quiet to me, Shaun. I'm sorry. Was that Nova's going with Bravo out to try and find Andrews?
And whether they can use their empathy in this kind of quiet environment to help pinpoint them.
Okay. I'll go for that. Yeah, sure. If I can bring security Bravo in next to Nova. There we go. Who hasn't rolled in a while? Except for Davis. Davis isn't allowed. Apparently.
That's a rule now.
There's no dark matter involved in this.
Vibus
So-
is desperately involved in trying to make sure parts of the ship don't fall off at this point.
So, who wants to be Bravo, basically? Who hasn't rolled in a bit? Because Nova's going to be making her own roll, so...
Alex?
Alex.
Right.
Okay, yep.
Where is he?
So Bravo is going to be doing Insight and Command, as is Nova.
Oh, security. Give me a sec. Yep. Yes, inside command.
Two successes for Nova, very good. On the money. One success for Bravo. Okay. As a telepath, Bravo is having a horrible time trying to cut through the interference. It's like, because every life form in the mycelial network is communicating telepathically on some level, even if it's just base on a base animal level, it's generating a lot of almost static. But Nova, on the other hand, is searching out for the familiar sensation of Andrews' emotions, and therefore manages to latch onto her. In which case, Nova, using that as a kind of a compass almost, can see a figure some distance away on the mycelial terrain is hoofing it towards the ship. And so Nova
Also
can...
giving out the signals of leave.
Yeah. Now, as has been noted, beaming out is not possible because of the sheer amount of energy in the area. So, after getting into EVA suits, Bravo and Nova and whoever else is going out have to leave via one of the exterior bulkheads. So that's where you're going. But of course, as soon as the bulkhead opens, you have to close the bulkhead really quick because some of the just separate life forms start infiltrating the bulkhead and start working on the seal. Working on the seal. So that has to be closed quick, smart. So that was good. So they're on their way. Let's move to the second phase. Andrews finds herself in a different portion of the network as she moves from almost like one biome to another, as areas are dominated by different life forms, different plant forms. And as Andrews enters this section, Andrews can see somewhere off, as she's, the Navis is really easy to see from this distance. But you can definitely make out the lights of, at very least, a pair of EVA suits. So Andrews now has a direction to go for, because that would seem to indicate that that's the nearest bulkhead to aim for. As Andrews is heading in that direction, all of a sudden, she hears... If I can just get this to work.
We are all. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
As, out of nowhere, a quartet of figures appear. Each of them bearing heavily invasive bionics, a single red gleaming rangefinder on one of its bionic eyes, and, well...
Here to see what's wrong with the cat, and I come back and what the hell?
That many complications, unfortunately.
You summoned the Borg into existence.
Oh,
What's Andrews gonna do?
Ignore them.
I didn't do it!
Alright,
Andrews' primary concern now is the safety of the crew of the Navis, because she knows the state that it's going to be in. So she's just going to continue to leg it.
Alright then. Can I get the same check as before then, please? Unless you want to try something interesting.
Let's burn that one. I'd like to burn another momentum.
A momentum or a determination?
I'm burning determination, and I'd like to use momentum.
Okay. I'm sure everybody's fine with that.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so using Malachi, use determination and 3 die rather than roll die.
4 successes. 2 over and above what you needed. So the Borg drones start filtering out and trying to block your path. Andrews is determined to ignore them. Does that mean she's going to run around them or run straight through them?
The Borg are generally slow.
Yep.
But there is that point of which is the quickest direction is through them.
You might be able to dodge through the gap in between in their line, yeah?
Yeah. That's kind of foolhardy though. Yeah, she would go. Yeah, she would go direct. She's smart enough to know she probably could beat the Borg, but also smart enough to know it's not worth the risk when she could divert, even if it means just a couple of seconds and she has to take injury from it.
Okay.
The chances of her getting away are higher.
If she does it as a circuitous curve around them. Cool. As a result, due to the ongoing predations of the USS, Andrews does lose to stress as
that is fine.
The itching becomes a burning now, to use another cross-franchise quote, as the JARSEP have got through not only the EVA suit but also Andrews's uniform, and are starting to burn into her skin. As Andrews curves around the Borg drones as best she can, she races as fast as she manages, bits of her EVA suit falling off, giving her a bit of extra speed. She, at one point, turns around to have a look and notices that the Borg aren't there anymore. Now, Ensign, is Arboretum Containment prepared to receive spores? We should be prepared to leave as soon as possible. That's a darned good point. It's time for Lechude to do what Lechude does best and try and use the transporters to get some extra samples. Now, the transporters are going to have some trouble with this, therefore I am going to up the complication range for this. The difficulty is going to be 3, but he can, Lechude, whoever wants to take control of Lechude, who hasn't rolled in a bit?
Jan hasn't done for a bit.
Jan hasn't done for a bit, so Jan, Gareth, do you want to be the Navis? Gareth?
Yeah.
Do you want to be the Navis?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And Jan, can you be Lechude again?
Am I rolling sensors con again, or?
Rolling sensors. Ooh, engineering, please.
Okay.
1 dice for the Navis to try and lock onto mycelial samples. We have got no.
Lechude still control and engineering.
Yes, please. With focus on transporter operations. Can
That's
use
momentum, Lechude.
I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. I'll spend the momentum.
Very good. 2 successes. What did I say the difficulty was? I think that. Okay. Right. Lechude transports a few. Dr. Bertram is still watching over Keval because, unfortunately, Keval has to remain connected to the computer because the ship is going to need to leave the mycelial network just as quickly, and any neurological damage he's suffered is going to have to be tended to after the fact. So hopefully Keval can hold on when the ship attempts to jump again. And as such, Bertram is not present to occupy the Arboretum, so that's going to be probably Ensign Eric's, Jenny Eric's responsibility to have a look. She reports that spore samples have arrived in the special containment area in the Arboretum, and therefore, hopefully, you have enough. So she's going to busy herself with collecting spores into a sample container in order to take them to engineering and in order to be put into the reaction cube. Woof. Meanwhile, I forgot some people. Nova and Bravo. Nova and Bravo have had a bit of a job getting down the ship because of the fact that the ship has wedged itself into a massive outgrowth of almost rock-like mycelial life forms, so they had to trump down a bit. But Andrews is definitely approaching.
Yeah, Andrews is approaching.
Psychically, sort of like mentally telling them to get back on board.
So yes, Andrews is racing forwards, and both parties can see themselves. And it's at this point that Andrews hears a voice. As I'm gonna fade out for a minute here.
Is she just nuts, or is this actually happening?
It was all a dream.
It's Dallas all over again. This is where she wakes up and her husband, Latude, morning, darling. She's like, nah!
Right. Philippa, says a voice. A familiar voice. Andrews stops dead in her tracks as she recognizes it as Tannenbaum's. Philippa, can you hear me? Andrews turns to see herself, lying on a bio-bed, dressed only in a medical gown. Herself and the bed the only things illuminated, as everything else, even the burning sensation of the jar sap attacking her flesh, fades away. From the impenetrable shadows emerges the form of Tannenbaum, dressed in an unmarked uniform and a science coat. All around the bio-bed, indistinct shapes move in the periphery, never venturing out of the shadows. The darkness is briefly parted as a door opens, the light from the corridor beyond illuminating the outline of a man. He moves towards the bio-bed, the door closing behind him. As he draws closer, the unseen spotlight above illuminates him. A human, with pale skin and hair, piercing eyes, and a wry smile, dressed in a dark, unmarked uniform. He strides up to the bedside as Andrews sees herself sit up to face him. Director, Andrews hears herself say. How's the patient, Doctor? The director asks, as another figure emerges from the gloom, a Vulcan female, tall and wearing a doctor's coat, consulting a pad as she enters the light. All vital signs are stable, Director, she says. Andrews recognizes the doctor as the same Vulcan that captained the black ship at Soam Satgil 4. And you, soldier, the director addresses, the Andrews that's sitting on the bio-bed. How are you feeling? Ready for my mission, sir, she addresses her other self. She sees her other self reply. We don't have much time, doctors, the director says, addressing the other two women. Admiral Hansen is assembling a fleet to block the Borg's advance on Earth as we speak. We'll need her operational and quickly. The cybernetic replacement procedure was extensive, but successful, the Vulcan responds. The data the Enterprise gathered from the Borg ship in J25 was regrettably scant, but Lieutenant Commander Data was thankfully thorough enough in his analysis that we believe these recreations of their implants to be within acceptable margins. Anything more than a cursory scan, however, will likely reveal the deception. All we need is a chance. Pardon me, sorry. My mistake, wrong accent. All I need is a chance, Director, says the other Andrews, to which the Director gives her an appreciative grip of the shoulder. And the cover personality, the Director addresses this question to Tannenbaum. Philip and I crafted the alternate personality based on a Starfleet officer believed missing in action in the Ordeg Nebula, Tannenbaum replies. The other personality remains entirely unconscious while dormant and can be deactivated by the agreed-upon command phrase. Using hypnagogic implantation, this alternate personality has enough memories to escape immediate notice. And if she is captured by the Borg, this alternate personality is programmed to appear, thereby rendering any known method of interrogation unable to extract any information about us or this operation. Even our best Betazoid interrogators were unable to pierce it. She is ready. Excellent, the Director replies before leaning into other Andrews, placing his hands upon the biobed. I want you to know how in awe we all are of your sacrifice, soldier. Thank you, sir, says other Andrews. Thanks to you and the computer virus your implants carry, we should be able to weaken the security protocols around some of the lower priority systems of the Borg's computer, or whatever passes for it, giving us a backdoor into their systems. Once implanted, you are to exit the Borg vessel and make your rendezvous with your handler. The rest will take care of ourselves. Clear? Clear, sir. The Director nods, patting other Andrews' hand before stepping back from the biobed. Prepper, he states simply. Then ship her out. We've identified the Awani as our target ship. She'll be posted closest to the front line against the Borg, so we'll offer the best opportunity to infiltrate the enemy vessel. Once the virus does its job, their ship and its secrets will be ours. Andrews sees her other self lay back down on the biobed as the Director walks away, enveloped once more by the shadows as the scene starts to fade away. Her perceptions return slowly, such that she doesn't realize that she's been grabbed by the arm by Lieutenant Nova and hauled towards the safety of Navis's confines, leaving her with just the echoes of the vision as the external hatch slams shut in front of her. Back to the bridge. As the call comes over the comm from Lieutenant Bravo. If I can find the right thingamajig. Bravo to the bridge. We've got her. Get us out of here. At which point, Captain Ducasse orders the spore drive fired up and redone, reactivated in order to get everybody out. So, as the Jarsep are busy attacking the hull, and several sections of the outer hull have to be evacuated due to the obvious danger it poses, the various systems have to be fired up once again. So, the first thing we have to check is whether or not you guys can plot an escape route. So, who is going to do that? That's probably going to be... I imagine Natala to try and navigate out?
Oh, isn't it? Weren't we using Hello for that? Hello is the navigational... yeah, Hello and Keval are the navigational officers.
That's true. Thank you very much for reminding me.
Yeah. All Natala's got to do is plot, is give them the map, basically.
Yeah. So we'll assume that Keval has to do the piloting. So this is going to be another... Let's see, this is going to be Insight and Con again, difficulty 3 by Keval.
He got this.
He got this. We got no momentum to spend. Yep.
Yeah, spend them all. We got 5.
Ooh, hello. In which case, unless you've got a means of beating that complication, I'll take that as a no. extra feedback comes down the line as Keval takes an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stress. If he takes any more and goes down to 0 stress, he might fall unconscious, and being able to navigate the mycelial network in that state is going to be...
That's where hello goes. Hello.
Steals a whole body.
Well,
you needed me to escape, so I stole his body.
So that, or Keval gets renamed Lieutenant Dispatcher.
What's going to happen here? Let's see. You didn't accumulate enough successes to exit the Mycellial Realm. So you're a bit lost in transit. Now, luckily, you've already utilized the mycelial energy caused by given off by the spores to initiate the drive, but what you've failed to do is find the correct exit node. So you're spinning around looking for another place to get out, which means that we're probably going to need somebody to do a sensor scan for an adequate exit.
All right, let's give you some new metrics for which to find your way out of this place.
Now, because of the failure of the last one and the complication, I am going to spend 1 threat to make it extra difficult. So difficulty 3, and I'm going to spend another one to up the complication range to 19 and 20.
Is there a way that rather than us just trying to escape the network back to where we came from, we literally just look for
The
an
next
exit
spawn?
an exit in our space?
Nice. In which case, you'll probably need Keval's help here as the navigator. So someone is going to need to be sensors feeding Keval data so that he can use that to guide the ship.
With the sensors, I can also do testing a theory because I've basically done this scan before, but backwards. So that I've got 3 dice to start rather than 2 if I'm leading.
Cool. So does Natala therefore want to do primary and Keval back her up as an assistant?
Sure.
Cool.
Do we want to spend the momentum as well? So
Get
that's
the 5th dice.
Yeah, get the 5th dice.
So yeah, Keval spends 1 momentum so that you're up to 5 dice in total. Yep, good idea. So this is gonna be... let me think. Now, Keval's focus of astronavigation will probably help. This is going to be insight and con for Keval because he's going on probabilities rather than actual geography and controlling things with his hands.
Or is that just doing control sciences, sensors stuff?
Yeah.
All phases complete.
Okay.
So, let's use a different... 0 successes from Keval and complication from Natala.
It's a sensors one. I can re-roll a single die.
All right, let's do that one.
Is I just click? Do I click re-roll results or do I go?
Just do re-roll result, and you can do it as 1 die. I think you can select 1.
Yeah, if you click re-roll, it should give you the option of doing, naming the number of dice.
Cool.
That's better. So we've actually got 4 successes. So, Keval, bless him, he's suffering under this deluge of data, but Natala does feed into the navicomputer and therefore into Keval's implant a projected route somewhere that's maybe better, a nearer one. So, with that in mind, the ship hurtles along the mycelial network, and there is a lurch as the spinning subspace field has to engage again in order to copy the spin of the spore chimney that you're basically exiting out of. So this will be one last check from somebody who hasn't given me a check before. For in a while. So
it's got to be Vibers on the Helm how well he's holding the ship together as it comes out of the spin.
Yeah, let's go with that.
We're doing the spin backwards as well. We're trying to force the spin to keep working for what we stood before.
Yeah.
So give me control and engineering check, and somebody can be the ship computer aiding in this. So who wants to be the
much are we
ship?
going to rip out of the engineering? Not the engineering bay, the shuttle bay. The most powerful ship in the fleet is now decimated because we just ripped a huge chunk out of
I've
it.
still got the ship fin open if you want me to roll.
Yeah,
that.
okay, that'll do. So
Considering
let's
we're just
see.
aiming.
Let's see, the ship is trying to... We're trying to match the spin here, so structure and engineering, I agree.
Okay.
Should I burn some momentum for an extra dice?
I am upping the threat, the complication range
crap.
here by 2.
Yeah, spend the die, Navis. Spend the momentum.
Is it 2 for 1 or was it 1 for 1?
No, it's 2 for 1, for 5 for 2, so it goes up.
Okay. Right, I can only spend 1 because we only had 4. Right. Okay, so do I burn some determination as well?
I would.
It's definitely a fixer-upper.
When we've already taken 2 hull damage, go for it.
With 4 momentum, you can add 2 dice.
We might need it if we need to fight our way out. Remember, we're just
Right.
turning back into real space.
Okay.
We don't know where we're going to end up.
4 successes
But 2 complications.
plus the focus range is double.
Tim have the dice again?
So that's...
Does he get the reroll from the ship?
I get the reroll as well.
one of those
Discipline
20s can be rerolled.
was right. So that 8 is a 2 successes again.
So it's
Because
5
I've got-
successes. But we've only got 1 reroll, so there's certainly at least 1 complication.
So, yep, there's still one complication. So reroll of them. So actually there, you've now got how many successes? Well, that's
6.
7.
I think we're on 7.
7.
Woo.
Yeah.
I'm on a complication.
Right, so
Fine,
the
stay
good
in the
news
shuttle bay.
is... The good news is... The ship comes out in Federation space.
In pieces.
It's going to come out at DS9 side, isn't it? And we're just like, nuts.
Admittedly, I was aiming for I was thinking Delta Fortress. Fair enough.
However, the amount of spin is not calculated accurately, and unfortunately, yeah. What was
Impromptu source of separation.
Okay. Well, since we don't have a saucer, kinda.
The easiest thing is to shunt it into the nacelles, because the nacelles will break. They're designed to have some sort of failure. Well, shunt the spin.
No.
We're gonna have to.
I know what we're gonna have to do. Right. So we already routed all the flight control stuff to engineering. Because we don't have a flight control deck at the moment. It's got a hole in it where it used to be.
Yeah.
Go on.
We're opening both sides of the hangar bay and letting the spin of the ship as we come out fling the remaining flywheel with all the energy left in it out of the ship.
It's not a new fighter, by the way. That was in there with it.
Nope,
No, the
fighter got
fighter's not
left
there.
behind.
Alright, good.
Nothing
The
is
issue-
in there.
Yeah. The only issue is making sure that it flies straight out and not bounce off half the hangar bay before it leaves.
Hey, if we're using the spin of the ship, it's gonna. The worst case is it crashes a hole next to the exit,
Yeah.
or it flies out the back and we lose our torpedo one.
Yeah, we're gonna lose. We're potentially gonna lose. If it goes badly, we're gonna lose in the cell.
No, if it's going badly, we lose the quantum torpedo launcher.
Yeah.
That's a bigger boom than losing in a cell.
Right. Okay. So, a couple of things happen. the strain on Keval is such that he takes a further 4 strats, which incapacitates him completely. The sensory overload is such that Keval just screams in pain as he's finally able to guide the ship into the correct exit node. But yeah, some of the energy is transferred into Keval himself, and it blows out his bionic eye and feeds some of that energy and excess energy into his brain, which knocks him unconscious. So
Let's try and keep him alive and sane.
But everybody is also flung from their feet, as not in the typical comical Star Trek way, which is just fall over, but the ship actually spins out as it exits the Mycellial Realm. Now, anybody who's watched Discovery usually sees that when they exit the Mycellial Realm, they kind of drop as the momentum bleeds off, but you guys just kind of, well, you drop into back to normal space, but at a rotation as well as a drop.
The inertial dampeners aren't working at this point. So yeah.
At this point, everyone kind of floats in the air as the ship is spinning around them. So everybody is like balls inside of a can, rolling down a hill. I am going to ask for somebody to roll which random deck takes structural damage. So
why not? I might as well be part of this. What dice?
So, if you go to rollable tables...
where is it again?
So, which deck's...
Click the middle orange button at the top of the...
Which deck is the warp cores on? Like main engineering?
Well, we'll find out.
The officers in crew quarters.
Oh!
Secondary science labs, the main lounge.
You've killed Mr. Minoko!
You're the one that kept him on the ship.
You'll never get to enjoy his fish.
Just see the fish just go past the window.
Isn't Cargo Bay 1 and 2 where we keep most of the torpedoes?
Thankfully, no.
Nope.
No, because they're in the torpedo.
Thankfully,
we have a
no.
torpedo pod in between the nacelles at the back of the ship.
Now, the ship has now suffered a breached structure, which means that it's higher than half the scale of the ship, which means the ship has now been significantly damaged. You've got minor hull breaches on the ship, which will be compounded by the fact that the Jarsep were breaking down the outer hull. So you've got minor hull breaches on the outer hull of the ship, on the outer edges of the hull, but you've also now got that general crew area, deck 5, which has been blown open to space in a few places. Thankfully, you've got emergency bulkheads and force fields. Can I get Shaun to roll me a D100, and if it's... and there's a 50% chance Mr. Minoko has been injured. Oh dear. It looks like the mess hall took a good deal of damage. Mr. Minoko is now in need of sickbay and has suffered lethal damage. So he suffered a lethal injury.
If you kill Mr. Minoko...
now, besides the fact that everybody's being bounced around the ship as they exit mycelial space. You were going to say something, Jan, sorry.
Yes, Doctor, drop everything. See to Mr. Minoko, because I'm already gone.
Unfortunately, the Doctor doesn't know about Mr. Minoko, and all he sees is a formerly screaming patient in front of him. He can't deal with stuff he doesn't know about.
Does that mean we need someone on Helm?
Well,
we've got one. We've got Ensign Lenny. Get off. You killed Mr. Monoko. You're not
I
playing
didn't roll the damage for the
You
thing.
killed
Shaun did.
Mr. Monoko.
No, he had a chance
You-
to survive.
You
Shaun
selected
killed
the
him.
neck. You killed Mr. Monoko. It will forever be on your
Dead
conscience.
He's not dead yet.
You might get better.
So basically, when everybody picks themselves up, there are alert warnings sounding from every loudspeaker. Of course, on the bridge, the captain picks herself up and just asks for a damage report, and you get the damage report of the fact that there are major hull breaches now all open to space on deck. Is it 5? Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, yeah, there's report of hull breaches when somebody gets onto sensors in order to scan for life forms in critical condition. Yes, there is a notice on the mess hall that there's one life form who's in critical condition, and therefore damage control team will need to go in order to allow medical personnel to gain access. So the first thing we're going to need
just now seeing its casualty music playing, it's sort of like the entire crew just runs to the aid of Mr. Monoko, sod the ship.
So, yeah, and of course down in the, I failed to mention, yeah, down in the, oh, what's the, yeah, the word's gone from my brain, as usual. Bulkhead. The bulkhead that Andrews and Bravo and Nova came through. You guys just basically fell through the bulkhead door and it was closed fast. And yeah, Bravo basically said, "We've got to, let's go." And before you were able to get too far down the hallway to take Andrews to sickbay, the whole ship activated, it was shuttered with the activation of the spore drive. And then as the three of them, Andrews, Bravo, and Nova, were heading down the corridors towards sickbay, all of a sudden the ship lurched and everybody was thrown around. So Bravo, Nova, and Andrews are probably on their way to, sickbay anyways. But when they get there, they do find that there are an awful lot of people already there. As people, crew members are coming there, reporting bumps and scrapes mostly. But then, yes.
The rest of the crew takes priority. Safety of the ship.
And, yeah. There are a couple of people who've been burned by the fires that have erupted from the hull breaches. And then, of course, an emergency crew comes in with a critical patient, Mr. Monoko. Now, the
cocktail shaker and a pair of hands.
Dr. Bertram at this point, along with Nurse Bravo, would more than likely have been proceeding to sickbay with Keval.
Will we able to stabilise him at all before moving to sickbay?
Yeah, you probably would need to use some sort of what do they call it, cortical stimulator or something to shock his brain back into action. Although that's probably not such a great idea because his brain has already suffered shock damage. So
I do have in my thing a neurocortical monitor, so that's going on.
Okay. There is one item that stabilizes brain activity. It's probably the neurocortical monitor, actually.
Yeah.
So we'll go with that. So, yeah, this is gonna be, reason plus medicine to try and, this is an unusual injury that Keval has sustained to his brain, so we'll see how well you manage to at least stabilize him for moving him to sickbay. Difficulty 1.
I'm going to use some momentum just to make sure, if that's okay.
Yep.
Spend it.
Focus, and put the fin up to 3 dice.
Okay.
I misremembered that. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. What is with all the complications at the moment?
Alrighty.
It's a bit stressful.
Alright, so you do manage to stabilize Keval long enough for... you do stabilize him so that you can take him to sickbay, because basically that's the best place to treat his brain injury, because you have more tools available to you on a biobed in sickbay.
Yeah.
As such, it's when Nurse Bravo and Dr. Bertram enter sickbay that you have to move past the queue of people who are there waiting to be treated for bumps, bruises, scrapes, and a couple of burns here and there.
Yeah.
Most of them are under their own power, so they're kind of minor. So some of your junior nurses can deal with those, no problem. When Dr. Bertram brings Keval onto a biobed, there's suddenly a cry from the main sickbay entrance as a couple of other junior nurses bring Mr. Minoko in, who is bleeding profusely and has got basically a couple of injuries consistent with being flung around the place, so a lot of blunt force trauma, but the nurses basically yell, we've got a critical situation here, been exposed to vacuum and has got broken bones and blunt force trauma. So it's up to Dr. Bertram what he wants to prioritize here.
Okay, as we're putting Keval on the bed, and he's being monitored by the new cortical monitor for the midcheek.
Let's move this. Let me
So I
move
thought
to
I'd lost
sick
connection
bay.
a second. Yeah. What was the state of his that it was reported as we put them onto his bed?
Right. Keval sadly has received a great deal of neural shock to his brain. It's his the nerve receptors attached to his bionic implant have basically been burned out.
Ah, shit.
Now we're up to an 18.
Let me do something a moment.
Don't worry, Doctor, it's only my brain.
My God! How could you still be conscious, man?
It's only a flesh wound. I'll walk it
Brain's
off.
been burnt out. Nurse Bravo, we're going to need a Guyver unit for this one.
Guyver unit. That's our other cross-franchise quote for the night.
That's an old one.
Very. Didn't they remake that series, the anime version of that?
Yeah, about
At
10
some
years
point.
ago, yeah.
It's fine. You have the technology. You can rebuild him.
We just don't want to spend too much money.
The $99, the $9 man.
The $9 man. He's got a bin for a leg. Cross franchise again.
Right, we're gonna have to strip the Carpathia and the Californian down for parts to rebuild him.
We ain't got the Californian anymore. We scrapped it.
I mean,
We don't have the Carpathia at the moment.
we don't know where it is.
Yeah, the end of the galaxy.
okay. Jan. Ordinarily, I suppose it would be on me to come up with a suitable injury for Keval. But in this case, if you've got an interesting idea for something, some kind of injury that Keval could have sustained, feel free to post it now. Otherwise, I'll try and come up with something.
Does it have to be neurological? I guess.
Well, you've got some degree of latitude because it was information coming in via his bionic eye fed to his brain. So
say occasional blackouts.
ooh, okay.
He's now a narcoleptic. Yay! Don't worry, Captain. I can.
So what we'll consider that as is unless
What is it? It'll be epilepsy? Maybe?
Similar to.
Yeah, something similar to that. Certainly, I'll go with that. Okay, so what we're essentially got here is that we've got an injury. So we've created a disadvantage for Keval for the moment. That until suitable medical research into Keval's condition and coming up with the procedure by which such an injury can be treated is done, probably as something that can be done as a downtime, as such. Yeah, this is going to count as a kind of like a disadvantage for Keval that will remain. So anytime I feel like using that, or if a complication comes up, that might trigger a blackout. So something like that. So for the moment, this is like a permanent disadvantage that's been put on Keval that will have to be worked at in order to be removed.
Hey, it's time to get a full cybernetic upgrade.
So have that part of the frontal lobe removed, get it replaced with some electronics, all good.
I've got what my plan is in the Discord.
In the meantime, maybe I can just have some kind of like implant that zaps me if I start falling asleep. So I take some damage, but I stay awake.
Radio alarm clock, so it just comes in with whatever's tuned in. Whenever it registers you're unconscious.
Right. So one of the
Why don't you just implant
Go on,
implant hello takes over whenever he falls asleep.
Oh yeah.
You want to implant an alien CPU into Keval's brain.
I'm not the doctor.
An alien AI.
My, Mr. Thazanan, that's a very interesting crystalline crown you're wearing upon your head. Wait. No, sorry, that's coming out of your head. Jeez.
Hello. It's like this mortal form is has such restrictions.
Right. In other news, while Bertram is brought up with that, some of the junior nurses try working on Mr. Minoko as best as they're able, but they're not able to stabilize him. His injuries are quite severe. They needed a 2, I got a 1, so this means that Mr. Minoko is rather badly hurt, and you've got a limited amount of time to save him. So, as such, I am going to use my 2 remaining threat to put up the complication range to 19 or 20 and add the difficulty all the way up to 3.
Doctor, spend all your momentum. Save Mr. Minoko.
That's it. First things first.
You can have Nurse Bravo administer aid, by all means, if you wish. And, of course, there's the bio bed, so the ship can aid as well.
Yep. And I mean, I haven't invoked that this mission, so I'm invoking that.
You're invoking... Okay, so, first things first. I need somebody to be Nurse Bravo. So whoever hasn't been rolling for a while. Excuse me.
I did enough the last time I rolled.
I can do it.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
John,
You're not allowed to roll anymore, Davis.
We survived!
Hey, if I roll and it goes wrong, you won't let me hear the end of it, so...
Yeah, if you kill Mr. Minoko, that's it.
And the bio bed is going to be using the ship's computers and medicine to assist, I reckon. So, who wants to... Shaun, do you want to be the Navis? So the Navis rolling 1 dice, rolling... What did I say? Computers and medicine? And somebody to be Nurse Bravo, rolling 1 dice. Unless you're buying more for Nurse Bravo. So whoever was being Bravo, it's going to be either control and medicine, or reason and medicine, or something like that.
I thought we were getting Bertram to buy it. Bertram, well, we've got 5 momentum, so it's 4 momentum, isn't it? Well,
yeah.
No, it's 3 momentum for 2 dice, isn't it?
See, would you rather go unassisted and just spend the full 5 momentum and just go all in with Bertram?
That's basically...
Bertram's better at, reason science is 10
my reason medicine is 17 in total.
Yeah, I think Bertram just goes the whole hog and just pulls up his sleeves and goes, I am a doctor, damn it!
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So I'll
This
spend
is the most important
momentum.
person on the crew.
No, this will be you spending 5 momentum for 2 extra dice.
Okay, fair enough. If you really want me to.
You should be taking 3 to buy 2.
Is it 3? Okay.
Yeah. It's 1 for the first one, 2 for the second one. Then it'd be
Okay.
3 for a third one, which you couldn't manage. So, so yeah.
So it's 4 dice in total, is it?
Oh yes. Don't you die on me, man! Okay.
God!
I want to know. I just want to say the final die is the one that you insisted I die.
Okay.
No.
Do you have any
Good
reroll
news.
talents? We've got a lot of things on there.
Does Bertram
I-
have any abilities that allow him to
I
reroll
used my
dice?
Legion of Honor last session.
I think we're gonna need another Mr. Minoko.
No, because he's saved him, it's just there's a complication. So he's like Keval, he has an issue.
He's
He's
now
not gonna be able to be a
allergic to.
barman anymore.
He's now definitely allergic to fish.
Now, because Mr. Minoko is an Idosian, he has 3 arms and 3 legs. Unfortunately, the crush injuries to one of his arms was so bad that it had to be amputated. So he's lost one of his arms, which Mr. Minoko, being a bartender, he was one of the most efficient bartenders there are, because he was able to, mix and fetch drinks, all at the same time. So this is probably going to affect him somewhat. But what was that? Sorry, bionic arm. Oh yeah, but it's not the same. So you have managed to save Mr. Minoko and Keval Fazanem, but at a price. All right.
You could have killed him, but you didn't. You saved him.
So, funnily enough, the it takes a bit, because the ship, as you can imagine, and the crew are in a bit of a state when after they exit the Mycellial Realm, and then there's of course the frantic panic of trying to get damage reports, the dispatch of the damage control teams, to the affected areas. There's the flurry of activity from the medical staff and the damage control teams, and of course the communications officer and the captain trying to work to get everything coordinated. Eventually, all of it is being dealt with, and it turns out that when the external sensors are accessed, that you realize the ship has actually managed to exit outside of Denobula. Natala basically went for home and used sensors and calculated probabilities to get a better exit point. And without realizing it, that kind of her subconscious worked its way into the calculations, and she just went home by reflex. And so the Navis abruptly appears outside of Denobula Prime. Is it Denobula Prime?
It is now.
It is now. Denobulans. A
If
Denobulan.
it's not, we can say the station is.
It's Denobula Triaxa, isn't it?
Let me see. Inhabitants of
It's
their
just
homeworlds.
Denobula in the Denobula Traxa system. Apparently the planet is just Denobula.
There we are then. I was okay. I was okay. So, yes, needless to say, as soon as everybody gets on their feet again, there's a lot of inbound communications as the space traffic control of Denobula basically goes, how did you get here? And are you in need of assistance? So, needless to say, there's a certain amount of explaining that has to happen. So, as soon as the damage control teams and the medical team start to get a handle on the situation, the captain basically says, "Just tell the denobulins that I'll be giving the government an appraisal of the situation as soon as I am able." And she basically excuses herself to go talk to the denobulan government in her ready room. While this is going on, of course, Keval eventually comes around. Fortunately, his bionic eye has basically been burned out. So he's one-eyed for the time being and has got the most extraordinary headache. Which, even though well, he probably could, but for the moment he's having to deal without his bionic replacement. And of course, in one of his one of Keval's sickbay mates ends up being Commander Andrews, who gets brought in order to be have her burns dealt. It's like the JARSEP were almost using like some kind of chemical enzyme to break down Andrews's flesh.
She won't be in there willingly because she's trying to block out the kind of like things that happened and just focusing on the task at hand.
So that entirely depends on whether or not Lieutenant Bravo Security and Lieutenant Nova force her to go to sickbay.
She's going to pull rank on them and say the ship needs her more than the ship needs repairs more than she needs medical attention at this moment in
the Doctor
time.
in this situation be able to technically pull one over on her?
Plus, technically, head of security can also go, I'm getting you there one way or the other, Commander.
Quick, to the Nova tunnels! Only Nova can find where I'm going.
So, yes, Lieutenant Bravo of Security is rather adamant that the first officer, yes, as much as you can bring him up on charges later for insubordination, Lieutenant Bravo would very much appreciate it if the commander makes her way to sickbay. And they would very much like visual confirmation that she gets there. So.
I shall stand in the doorway, and then as soon as he goes, she's going to where the sort of like the damage teams are.
At that point, if I see like a badly, does she actually look obviously badly burnt?
Oh yeah, there are like patches of there are patches eaten away of Andrews's uniform, and there are chemical burns on her skin underneath those patches, those open patches. So yeah.
Yeah. At which point Bertram will say, "Andrews into the biobed."
The Doctor introduces her to Mr. Sedative.
Can you just look over there and count to 10 as he sticks her with a hyperspring?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Ow! You bad.
Quick, eat this fungus. If you eat this fungus, then I'll let you, then I'll let you go on your thing. Not telling her that if she'd actually attended the lectures, she would know it's a knockout fungus.
To do a runner and just pulls up the trank gun.
No, he's not actually going to mess around like that, but he will actually basically say, "No, you are staying in sick bay. You're obviously badly injured. You could potentially have been exposed to alien toxins that you need to be cleared for the system. You are not running around currently in this high stress situation."
And with medical authority, the Doctor's able to do that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
not actually make me pull regulation 121 on you. I'd threaten Stoker with it. I will threaten you with it if I need to.
The Doctor doesn't do his dad voice often.
No, but sometimes he has to. And if Andrews is literally trying to just sneak out of sickbay the moment the head of security's gone, he will intervene.
Meanwhile, the captain asks for the different parts of the spore drive to be basically pulled apart and deactivated. Although the Arboretum does now have an interesting array of extra-dimensional plant life kept around. So, who knows? You might get to keep it, or it might have to go to Starfleet Science. We'll see. If Bertram wants to put in a request to keep it, he's got so many awards to him now that they probably would agree
Bertram
to
will
it.
definitely want to keep it. He'll
Interestingly,
put like a sticky note on it, says "Do
Mine.
not touch." Signed, Bertram.
I just expected it to be one word. Mine.
No, he's a little more professional than that. In case anyone's noticed, the sticky note is made out of plant fibres, and the sticky part of it is made out of a special mushroom glue.
And Nova, being the rebellious sort, can't help herself.
I'll literally put just a fake fin of sort of like normal fungus there, just to actually divert Nova off.
So you've got the Arboretum, and then in a special hologrammatically shielded section of that same place is the real specimen, I see. Speaking of Nova, when it comes time for Edwards and Nova to disconnect Hello from the ship's systems, Hello notes that its computational power, thanks to linking up the various cores, has now increased by 250%. Therefore, it makes note to Nova that the attempt to grant it its own chassis in order to get about is now going to need to be somewhat modified, because these 3 enormous crystalline cores are going to be a bit unwieldy to get about. So Hello recommends that instead of literally creating a robot body for the single core that is Hello, perhaps Hello and Nova can work on a way of in a similar fashion to, I'm going to do another cross-franchise thing here, in a similar fashion to what they did in Mass Effect 3 with Edie. Edie, the artificial intelligence on the Normandy, actually housed itself in the computer server on board the Normandy, but was able to operate, remotely pilot the droid body. So Hello recommends doing something in that regard with the little multi-limbed robot body that Nova was building for it.
I don't think that should be too difficult.
No. So Hello itself, in its new, more powerful form, I say more powerful, more computationally powerful form, will still exist on the ship, but this little robot body will basically be its own little pilotable get-about.
So in other words, Hello can go on away missions.
Indeed.
Hello can go goodbye though on those away missions.
No, because that's only of the robot body that's being lost.
True.
It's only rather than us losing Hello, we're just losing a little bit of Hello.
Yeah. The drone. Yeah, good point.
We're just going to have the Edie bit, where the clone Commander Shepard steals the Normandy. And she's just like, I'm fine! And one eye's pointing up, one eye's pointing down. And she's like, they're all like, really?
Right, as far as what Viber's tried with jettisoning the flywheel, it mostly worked, but unfortunately it caused a bit of damage on the way out. But of course...
It didn't explode.
No, at least it didn't explode, but now you've got the additional... Go on,
You yeeted a load of dark matter into the Denobulan solar system.
Yes, so as such, some coordination is needing to be done, as some emergency worker bees had to be dispatched to try and get hold of the thing in case it ends up wandering into incoming space traffic. So yes, Viber's had a bit of an earful from Denobulan space traffic control over that. Wait, don't go into this area.
Didn't they see the immense science opportunity?
Well, this becomes the thing now. So,
I think that Captain Ducasse is going to be put on investigation from this. I think
I'm
the
launching
Navis
a
is...
discus of death.
Yeah, the Navis is going to potentially be grounded pending an investigation for this.
It's fine. We explain it as we had to jettison this so that we did not cause a antimatter explosion in your solar system.
Yeah, but jettisoning dark matter probably would have more of an effect than the warp core breach.
so yes, questions will need to be asked and answered.
I'll take the court-martial.
The captain says that's very sweet of you.
I didn't get orders to handle it. I handled it.
That's very sweet of you to offer, Commander, but I think we both know who's really responsible for all of this mess. And needless to say, I will be having very stern words with a certain admiral. Meanwhile, you concentrate on fixing the ship and coordinating with Denobulan space traffic control. We need to get the ship docked and repaired as soon as possible, because in this current state, the Navis is not going anywhere.
Is it worth us sending?
Notice, sir, could I request additional engineering from Denobula staff, as half of my staff are still where we were?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Then it's just as a follow-up is that perhaps Ensign Keshin is to ask Denobulan Space to send out a communique to these coordinates to where the Navis was and say, "Hey, we're in Denobula. Please rendezvous at the starbase nearest to you, and we'll come pick you up once repairs are complete."
Yes, indeed.
Kiss, kiss.
All right.
Kiss, kiss. Love, Keshin.
No problem. Okay. No problem at all. So that happens, and yes, it'll take a bit of time, but that message will be sent. The fighter craft and the runabout and the shuttles are all low warp capable ships, so it'll take up a bit of time before they get to Starbase. What was it? It was that one on the very, very edge. Vanguard, Starbase 47. So they're going to have a bit of a trip before they get to even the outer edges of the alkali system. Very interesting named system there. Back in Federation space. Thankfully, there shouldn't be any problems getting there. There doesn't appear to be any problematic species or space.
Only the Cardassians.
The Cardassians are having their own problems right now, what with the Klingons. And they're way, way galactic north of Starbase 47, so they should be fine. But yes, the Navis is banged up to all hell and back. Now, I have a question for Webby, which is everything that happened. Hang on, let me read what John just posted. The dark matter flywheel would have been released while spun up at a relative mass to compensate the spin of the ship. Yep. So it was ejected, but then of course it went flying off into Denobulan space traffic. So grab it quick.
But this is why we didn't spin ourselves into tiny pieces before it ejected.
I was just trying to work out how difficult it would be to slow something like that down. So
we have tractor beams.
Yes. But given the forceful exit, other people weren't able to do it as soon as you exited. It was a bit of a forceful exit from mycelial space. That does pose a question. Are you guys... How do you guys want to handle... Because, technically the captain is an NPC, and I can be the captain on occasion, but how do you guys want to handle this? As far as the Starfleet is concerned, are there any special things that you want to do? Any people that you want to, send messages to, address and say, "Hi, this happened. It might be this guy's fault," or anything anybody wants to do, basically, as a result
Admiral
of this
Heber
mission.
would probably be worthwhile contacting because she has been an ally.
I haven't.
What was that, Davis?
Okay, Vibers is going to send a message to Admiral Ducasse, which effectively comes down to, we made your stuff work. It's not safe. It's not stable. We could lose a lot more people than this is worth. Please drop it.
Okay, cool. So
If,
it's go on.
If Natala's going to talk to anyone, it probably won't be in official terms. But I imagine whilst she's here, she might gonna try and speak off the record to someone in the Denobian scientific community. Maybe like one of her teachers or something like along those lines. Just in hypothetical terms of basically how wrong this could have gone.
Right.
How badly this could have turned out.
So there's someone else backing up Vibers' assertion that this could have gone really, really horribly wrong, and therefore it shouldn't be tried again. Right.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to put words in your mouth here, but
the other one for my one is effectively, this is the fine we've got from Denobulan traffic control. Can you pay it?
Yeah.
Vibers just reaching out to his underworld contacts. I've got debt to pay. Pay it, lads.
I'm not gonna reach that. Oh, underworld contact. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's like, what are you gonna pay him with? Just tell him it's like, there's some interesting space junk floating around in space right now. You can have it if you can get me out of this jam.
Yeah,
I've got a
realistically,
big pile of time.
looking at this from like a high level, is that there are going to be some very serious questions that the Federation is going to ask on this, and Starfleet, and the Starfleet Science Department, because there is going to be repercussions for the entire crew. So it's going to be, whoever allies and favors we have, I think that we're all going to be reaching out to people and saying,
help.
This is, help. What's his name? Loss as well? Captain
Loss? Yep, your ex-first officer. Yep, good point. Well remembered. Alright. Cool. I can deal with that. Now, a question for Webby. The vision that Andrews had at the end in the Mycellial Realm, is she going to make note of that at all? Anyway.
She would probably submit herself a psychiatric evaluation once all of this has calmed down.
Nova would have gotten traces of that vision. She was a bit of a distance off, as would Bravo. As such, what Bravo and Nova would be able to add to that is that they sensed some really powerful telepathic energy from some of the plant life in the near vicinity. As such, it's not difficult to imagine, especially if they liaise with Dr. Bertram, that considering some plant life have interesting defensive measures to protect themselves, this could be a defensive measure. I mean, even the Borg turning up could very well have been a defensive measure by some of the mycelial life forms, and considering that a vast majority of mycelial life forms operate telepathically, it's entirely possible and probable that what Andrews suffered was some kind of psychic attack as a defense mechanism from nearby plant life that she was in the proximity of when she was running to the Navis. And the two betazoids would have been able to back that up because they would have sensed that. Psychiatric evaluation. As ship's counsel, I can confirm you did shrooms and enjoyed it. Well, enjoy is a bit of an interesting...
What else was she going to eat?
Quite. So yes, there are going to be questions asked, and the captain is more than likely going to bear the brunt of those questions. But yes, probably in the not-too-distant future, the crew of the Navis are going to have to be debriefed by some of the higher-ups in Starfleet from various departments. But you're reasonably sure that Admiral Ducasse himself is probably going to have a good couple of questions asked him too. So it'll be interesting to see how far his influence might run amongst the Admiralty. But the ship is banged up. The crew are not quite as banged up. In some cases, actually, yes, as banged up as the Navis. The experiment is definitely too dangerous to continue usage, but you now have an unusual something that you have tried and succeeded at, all things considered. So, and of course there is now a store of mycelial plant life being stored on the Navis.
Well, majority of it was in Deck 5 is the science labs as well, so...
The secondary science labs, yes.
There's a secondary, is it?
Let me see, actually, I actually put it down where the Arboretum is. It's Deck 4. So the majority of the damage was Deck 5, I think. Let me scroll back.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was Deck 5.
So it was one deck below. So 13, 3, and 5, yeah. So the ship has been banged up quite a significant way. This is going to take a bit of repair. And most of your teams, as you quite rightly have pointed out, are quite a few light years away from where you currently are. So, with that in mind, we're going to start bringing this to a close here. So, are there any things that folks would like their characters to do as basically not kind of downtime as a consequence of what happened here? Is it?
Fix the ship.
Well, that goes without saying, don't it? But,
yeah. As I said, is that Andrews is going to submit herself a full psychiatric evaluation.
Okay.
I would like to take Andrews to one side and just check the implant recordings and give her the copy.
Interestingly enough, when the when the replay is made of the bits where Andrews saw the Borg and the strange shadowy vision.
She won't mention this to the she won't mention that to the crew.
No, but Vibers, when looking through the logs inside of Andrews's ocular implant, will see that there's nothing there.
So I just give her the copy because it's a copy of her records outside her. You were keeping copies for your own reference when you had the blackouts.
All right. Anybody else got anything else they want to do, or is it just going to be a case of see what happens as a result of the inquest that's brought up?
Bertram wants to examine all the extra-dimensional plant and fungal stuff they brought back.
Praxitoris stellavatoria, I believe it's called. I got that wrong, probably.
That's the main thing. Did we kind of scoop that specifically, or is it more of a general scoop trying to get as much and sorted out?
It was because of the amount of energy that it caused interference on being able to use the transporter systems. It was basically a reach out, grab a load, and then bring it back into the ship. Yeah,
that's cool. He wants to basically see what its properties are, and also if we scooped if anything else that might have interesting properties, because he's hoping it might sort of help them figure into the big project he's planning.
Yes. Prototaxites stellaviatori, that was it, the name of the actual fungal life form.
In terms of unusual readings, that Natala's probably want to spend some time looking to see if there's any other side effects we haven't noticed yet. The spinning shield would probably be the most interesting thing for her to just look into, just in case.
Yeah, and it certainly seems to be a unique property of entering into the Mycellial Realm, but that kind of subspace spinning field needs to happen. 2 minutes. 1 minute. So yeah, but the idea of using some kind of subspace field in motion as a means of altering the quantum resonance of a ship and its everything inside of it in order to move it between different layers of subspace is very interesting and has possibilities. But as you have seen, it also has rather extraordinary downsides if you get it wrong.
No, this seems like something that we're not ready to use on ships yet, but it might be interesting in terms of probes and torpedoes.
And in controlled conditions, like on, labs on the planet's surface or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Cool. Okay then. Well, we've actually come to the end of our stream today, and we have succeeded in bringing back the first officer of the Navis. Not entirely as intact as she was when she went into it, but a lot better off than some of her other crewmates. Keval, Mr. Minoko, being examples. Not that Andrew's got off lightly either. So, yes, plenty to see, plenty to do, and plenty to talk about next time. But for the moment, we'll deal with that on downtimes and such. So for those who are paying attention to the stream, thank you very much for tuning in. This is the end of this specific episode, rescuing the first officer, which was successful, but at a cost. So we'll see what the consequences of this end up being.
Oh, I've got the XL saga ending now. This week's episode. Success.
It was never a success.
There is one episode where XL does actually succeed in her mission. It just happens to be the one where they blow up the city.
Oh yes, it's success and then a question mark.
What are we talking about here? Thunderbird XL5 or something?
No, XL
Saga. It's a very, very surreal anime.
Okay then, I'll take your word for it. I'm afraid it's something I haven't seen.
It's amazing. You need to watch it.
I'll take that under advisement.
I'm not sure how well it's aged, but yes.
It's not aged well, no, but it's still hilarious.
It's true, yeah. It is from about 20 years ago.
Ah, okay. Well, to all those tuning in on the stream, thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, see you next week for what happens and where we go from here. But for those who are catching up on YouTube, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing, not the least of which because it also gives the other guys who do the Star Trek Adventures a boost and helps promote such on the algorithm. So thanks guys for tuning in. We'll see you all when we see you all next. Live long and prosper as we close the hailing frequencies.